home at a reasonable. So welcome to Community Board 4's March 20th, 2024 meeting. We're getting started at 6:05 p.m. We have one public hearing item. We're going to go right into that. And I will let those folks introduce themselves. I will state that this is a presentation on the proposed affordable housing project at 2031 Eastern Parkway. And they are seeking a letter of support for Board of Standards and Appeals BSA variance application. The Doe Fund and team, whenever you're ready.
Good. Hi. Hi, I'm Larry Gordon, Vice President of Housing Development with the Doe Fund. I want to thank the Community Board, in particular the Housing and Land Use Committee, which endorsed our project and invited us back to present our case for a letter of support from the Community Board. I have with me Jesse Schwartz, who's with the Doe Fund as well, and our partner, Adam Zeidel. I'm going to talk quickly and about 3 minutes of big picture, and then pass it off to both Jesse and Adam to answer, get into the weeds a little more and answer, and we're all here to answer any questions you may have. How much time is this for? 30? Okay. So I'll talk fast. I'm a New Yorker. So thank you all for having us. If anyone's not familiar with the Doe Fund, we are a nonprofit, one of the larger ones in New York. We were founded in 1990, and I'm proud to say we were founded in Brooklyn. We've been on Gates Avenue since 1990, Porter Avenue since 2000. We have a project on Rogers Avenue since 2015, and our roots are here. I don't want anyone to, when people know the Doe Fund, I'd recommend anyone who's not familiar with us. It's at www.doe.org. You can see the work we do, the social services we provide. Many of you may be familiar with our Men in Blue and the shelters that we created. I want to assuage everyone. This is not a shelter project. This is a permanently affordable and supportive housing project. Tenants will be signing rent stabilized leases. And as we go further into this discussion, because we're going through the BSA process, the affordability factor will be in perpetuity. And we'll discuss the breakdown further. The BSA, I understand, is a touchy subject with this community board. We've met twice with the Housing and Land Use. We've also met 3 times with the councilwoman and her staff. And we understand about 10 years ago, there was maybe a bait and switch with a for-profit partner. I hear an I want to tell everyone we are the majority partner in this transaction. We have special missions to provide safe and affordable housing, and we're not going anywhere. We don't sell, and we stay, and we look to engage in the community. As I mentioned, we've met with both the council woman 3 times and her staff, the borough president's office, and we've been here. This is now our 3rd time coming here. So we're interested in full disclosure and communication and making partnerships with our neighbors. Someone asked about funding. If anyone has $180 million, please see me after this. But at the moment, we've engaged with Housing Preservation and Development and HDC, which issues bonds. The Doe Fund will also defer some of our fees, and there are some other interesting sources which Adam can talk more about as a funding source on the federal level. But at the moment, we're still in pre-development. We don't have our plans fully vested, and we're here because the BSA process, which takes anywhere from 8 to 12 months, is something we need to get moving on. AMIs, I know that's a big discussion we've had with the community board twice, or the Housing and Land Use. Jesse talked more about the deeply affordable project that we have here and why we're able to do that. Construction, someone wanted to know about the risks and rewards. Based on the project we have envisioned, 20 stories, 389 units. We think the project will take anywhere from 24 to 30 months. We have yet to identify a general contractor. but we will work with someone who's very familiar with the area. There are a lot of people who do this work. One of the protections we have, in addition to oversight from HPD, the bankers and their engineers, we'll get what's called a payments and performance bond from our GC, which will ensure completion of the project. We don't have a start date, and we are looking forward to talking more about it as we go along. Another thing I've learned over the years of coming to community boards is job creation. The Doe Fund is engaged in many other communities with job fairs. We've worked with community boards in the past. We've worked with local council people and with our HR department. During construction, our general contractor is certainly willing to have the community-based job fairs. This project will certainly entail well over 100 construction jobs. Subcontractors would be coming here and interviewing people for potential jobs. On a permanent basis, depending on where this project ends up, the Doe Fund will provide program services. We'll have a program director, clinical caseworkers, administrative staffs. We'll have 24/7 security, and we'll have maintenance, a live-in super and maintenance staff. So we envision something between 15 and 18 full-time jobs when the project is finished. And prevailing wage jobs. Thanks, Jess. So I think I've blasted through a lot, and we will certainly go into more detail, but I just want to reiterate that we appreciate the support we've received so far, and we're here to answer any other questions you have. I'm going to turn it over to Adam Zidell, who's going to talk more about the BSA process, why we're using that mechanism, and maybe some of the special features of this project. And again, these are things that we want to discuss with you. There's if you will, an out parcel. There's opportunities to create something very special here. We're excited by it, and we wish to share it with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry. Thanks, everybody for joining us. I'm Adam Zidell. I'm very excited about this project. We'll go through the specifics in a second as to why I think it has such unique potential. But the reason that we're here tonight, it's very specific and very simple. There's two potential projects here. One is, a 12-story building, which, to be perfectly frank, would be extremely generic, and the entire focus of HPD would be cost cutting. We would be doing the block and plank, which is the most generic, cheapest form of construction. We wouldn't have really a budget to do anything with this 40,000 square feet of surplus land that I think is a tremendous opportunity. And if we waste it, it would be heartbreaking, frankly. And the more generic, smaller project would result in the loss of 150 deeply affordable units. If we get a letter of support tonight from the community board, we have an opportunity to do a different project, which is a much more interesting, exciting project. That project is 389 deeply affordable units. 100% of the project is affordable. 150 more affordable units than the smaller project. We would be doing a different form of construction rather than block and plank, very generic, very cheap construction. We would be doing poured concrete. We have an opportunity to hire a world-class architect, Studio Gang. You may or may not know them. They built the new wing of the American Natural History Museum, among other things. Probably the most prominent female architect working in the world right now, Jeannie Gang. And we have the ability to do something really special with this 40,000 square feet of surplus space. There's a number of ideas floating around. We didn't want to be presumptuous and come in and say, this is what we think it ought to be. I think it really should come from the community. We think a talented, very talented design team. We're going to have a lot of resources, I hope, to program that space. We can talk to you about that. And if we get a letter of support from the community, that's the project that I think we can do. And I'll give you the specifics as to why that's the case. Let me start at the beginning, though, because there was a question as to why we're proceeding with a BSA application. I'm sure that you all are more familiar with ULURP rezoning. So the way this project came to be is that my background before I became a developer is that I was a zoning attorney. So I go around looking for sites that have underappreciated development potential. And I try and, get the owners to sign a deal where I have enough of a runway to figure out what it can be without frankly putting up a lot of money up front, because the further you can push the payment, the deeper the affordability can be at the end of the day. When you have to pay a big sum up front, you're paying interest on it. And then, you need to make more money on the rent. So by pushing out the payment to the landowner, you can drive deeply affordable rents, which is what we've done here. This being a private landowner, though, who owns this, very large 64,000 square foot site, he was not willing to hold his property off the market and tie it up for many years. We got, I think, a very favorable deal in which he gave us 18 months to get the zoning that we need, and then another 2 months, if we're successful getting the zoning, another 2 years to close the transaction, which gives us approximately 3.5 years where we can push off the payment and allows us to achieve extremely deeply affordable AMIs, which Jesse will get into the nuts and bolts of in a second. But the fact is, because of the deal that we made with this landowner, the best deal we could get, we have 18 months to get the zoning. My background as a zoning attorney, I thought, okay, there's a narrow window that we can get this zoning. We can't get a ULURP. A ULURP, takes 2.5, 3 years. So that's off the table. We're never going to make it. But a variance is very achievable in 18 months. And here, the variance is possible because we have the most classic variance you could possibly imagine. We have an active freight train line running through the middle of this site, an 80-foot wide freight train line, which you can see in that picture there. It's the yellow, the tunnel. So I thought, okay, so that will allow us to accomplish what we need to accomplish in the 18 months. And it's sort of a classic approach. And we also have, there's a new doctrine at the Board of Standards and Appeals that if you're doing 100% affordable housing, you get certain deference in the BSA approach. So I thought these two things in combination, the fact that we have a freight train running through the middle of the site and we're doing 100% affordable housing, which hopefully should give the community comfort, because that is a condition to our getting the zoning, right? We're going to the BSA and we're saying we're doing 100% affordable housing at these AMIs. And then if we were ever not to comply with that for some reason, then the zoning would go away. We wouldn't have the ability to build the project. So that's a safeguard baked in to the process. And of course, the majority partner here is the Doe Fund, a nonprofit that only does affordable housing. That's a secondary safeguard. Nevertheless, when we started thinking, okay, that's how the project is going to proceed, then we started thinking from a design perspective. We can't build on top of the train line. It's logistically impossible, the engineering, the additional cost. And then you have these kind of two weird triangles to the left there where you can't mass a building with the proper windows, light and air, not a residential building at least. So we said, okay, we have to cluster all of the square footage that you would build across the site into a third of the site, which is the gray area that you see there. And we thought, actually, this could be sort of great, because to the right of the gray area is like an auto body shop. So the height of the building is up against, that auto body shop. Presumably it's not going to bother the auto body shop. And then you have a huge buffer area. You have 40,000 square feet between the building and sort of the next residential building to the left there, which is the equivalent of, 20 homes. If you assume that like a house or a 3-story building is on average about 20 feet wide, you have the equivalent of 20 buildings buffer in between your the affordable housing building and then any residential building to the left. And then we thought, okay, rather than have this be a buffer, this can be something special. You rarely get 40,000 square feet of land in New York City that you can do something creative with. It's an incredible canvas to paint on. There's been a number of suggestions as to what we might do with that. The council member's office has suggested that there's a need for a community center or arts programming. We've been thinking about an overall program with a theme of environmental justice, sustainability, decarbonization, access to open space, and perhaps something like district-wide geothermal energy, where you're providing clean, free energy district-wide. I mean, that's something that we have to explore with engineers and real experts. It's just one of the concepts at this point. But all of that is on the table. And you know, one of the sources that I'm excited about is the Inflation Reduction Act. So Joe Biden passed the Inflation Reduction Act and the bipartisan infrastructure law. These are billions of dollars on clean, green building. It hasn't yet, but grants have been awarded in this last month for projects that are deeply affordable and focus on sustainability and decarbonization. So the money is coming through the pipeline. It's allocated nationwide. And we've gone to the city and we've jumped up and down and we said, here's an incredible opportunity to infuse this project with money to program the building, 40,000 square feet, have an elevated standard of design for a deeply affordable building. And, you know, we got very excited about what this project could potentially be. We met with the Housing and Land Use Committee. We met with the council member. We've now met with the borough president, and we got to HPD, and HPD said, hey, you know, pump the brakes. We have a limited number of resources. We have a lot of neighborhoods that we have to surface, and we don't know if the community wants this project that you're talking about. And the last thing that we want to do as HPD is spin our wheels, get all excited, allocate a bunch of resources to this large, substantial project with all these bells and whistles, and then the community, for whatever reason, maybe because they feel like a BSA process from another developer years ago burned them, they don't like it, they don't want to do it, and then, you know, we've spent all this time and money on a project that the community doesn't want. And we said, we think the community will like this project. It's, you know, 150 more. So HPD said, look, why don't you just do 12 stories, 150 fewer deeply affordable units, strip out anything you're talking about with the 40,000 square feet of land. It's just going to basically be vacant, and do block and plank, extremely generic construction, and don't hire the fancy architect. Why don't you do that project? And we said, well, it seems like a really big missed opportunity to do that project, and we would prefer to do the more exciting project for a number of reasons. And we think that the community will support it. And they said, okay, go to the community, and if they give you a letter of support, we will be open to doing the bigger, more exciting project and entertaining all of the design things that you want to do and programming this 40,000 square feet. So that's where we are. We have a deadline from HPD of Monday, March 25th, which is when our meeting is with them. We've met now with the Housing and Land Use Committee, the council member a few times, the borough president's office, and all of it culminates in this meeting on Monday. One last thing I want to say, and then Larry has told me I should turn to Jesse to talk about the affordability levels. You know, I would love to get your support for, I think, the more exciting vision of the project. That opens the door to, I think, a number of follow-on conversations where we figure out how to program this thing. And like I said at the top, that's going to come largely from you guys. We have, I think we'll be able to hire a talented team, and we'll have a number of resources, and we can bring you options and sort of guide the conversation. But, you know, we need your support now to open the door to that opportunity. Otherwise, HPD is going to say, okay, you know, under the contract, you got to get your zoning by the end of this calendar year. There's no more time left to waste. You went to the community board. They didn't want it. They wanted the 12-story more generic project. It's a win for the city. Just go do that. And that's what'll end up. I hope we can get your support for the more exciting project, and I look forward to answering your questions. And Jesse's going to talk about the levels of affordability in the project. Thank you all.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jesse Schwartz. I'm with the Doe Fund. I had previously worked at HPD, which is the city's housing development agency. I'm here today to tell you, obviously, about All right, so please hold that. So the exciting thing that Adam may have neglected to mention is that by virtue of this variance process, we're able to unlock a lot of value by switching this land from manufacturing onto affordable residential. And what that allows us to do is get deeply, deeply affordable housing. So we're envisioning this project using the extremely low and low income affordability term sheet, which is known as colloquially as ELA. And so the upward limit of that term sheet is 53% AMI, but we're envisioning this project with 27% AMI, 47% AMI, 57% AMI, and 77% AMI. And so what that allows us to do is really blend a lot of incomes together and target really, really low rents. So as you can see, for example, you know, you don't really see many $486 monthly rents. Yeah, I'll make it bigger, sorry. Is
We
this
also shared this schedule with the board, so.
right? Is this more legible now? So we have 91 units at 27%, 99 at 47%, 22 at 57%, and 76 at 77%. And that translates more or less to a studio apartment at $486, for example, a 1-bedroom at $617, a 2-bedroom at $728, and 3 bedrooms at $830. So we are excited about that. And the thing that really excites us the most is that we're able to, as I said, to reiterate that, is to get these deep levels of affordability by virtue of this BSA process. Otherwise, we would be facing market rate pressures, which means you have to charge higher rents in order to build the project that we want to have envisioned, the 390 units. And so it's special in that regard. I have not come across a project like this in my years of developing affordable housing, because you don't often get this opportunity to come in front of a board and ask to build a bigger building than zoning would otherwise allow for. So that's basically the thrust of why we're here right now. And happy to answer any more questions about rent levels or AMIs moving forward.
We're gonna have other board members first, then we're gonna allow the public, okay? I'm gonna give the mic to the chair first from the committee, and then I'm gonna pass it along, okay?
Hi, everybody. Ann Guiney, Housing and Land Use Committee Chair. Just to say thanks to everybody for turning out for this. The Housing and Land Use Committee did vote to support this. We want to explain why, but we also know that there are concerns out there and issues, and all of that needs to be heard and aired. If this goes forward and it's going to be a good project, it has to be with a lot of community input, and we need to build in the safeguards to make sure that that happens. Very briefly, the rationale for why the Housing and Land Use Committee supported this project, not unanimously, but very strongly, was that it aligns in almost every single way with the Bushwick Community Plan that we worked on for 6 years, every single week, very hard. And it's deeply, the levels of affordability is not something we have seen at the Housing and Land Use Committee beforehand. So that's real and that's important. And I think everybody knows it is a crisis. It is an absolute crisis. The BSA variance is something that we look deeply, we find troubling, but we also, it seems like it's a reasonable explanation. One of the reasons we don't like BSA variances at the HLU committee is because it sidesteps community input. So if we can build in guardrails that allow for continued long-term community input, that again, there's like, you know, there's teeth in that, that makes a lot of sense to us. And then it's, yes, I don't think you guys mentioned it is currently a school bus depot, right? So that might just, yeah, just be worth throwing in there, but I am, ask you to wait because I think a lot of people do have a lot of questions and comments. So I just wanted to give that as a little preface, and then I'm going to turn it over first to Mr. Ceballos, and then onward and upward.
And I just want some clarification in regards, the committee did vote two, but we can the board can sidestep it too, so just not it's not written in stone until board gets their every member gets their vote across. So I just wanna make sure that we cross our T's and dot our I's and do the right thing.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Felix Ceballos. I'm CD4 member. I want to say first, after the pandemic, we had a big, very, very hard situation. Anybody know that? Also, if we see the price is very hard for everything right now. So in the same way, a lot of people, they lost the world they was living. And we have to consider that. For the first time, I hear 100% affordable housing. For the first time, I hear that. And also, when I say a lot of people, they were they lost the world they living. That means it's a lot of homeless, and that kind of project is very important for the community because in that way, those people, they are homeless. They can at least find a place. I have a question for you. When we're talking about green energy, what you have to say about the project? Thank you.
Should we answer now, or are we waiting for other questions first? Okay. Thank you. To Ann's question, or point first, the site presently is a parking for school buses, diesel burning school buses. So, from a green perspective, we would be replacing a fleet of diesel burning buses with a very green, 100% affordable housing building, plus whatever that open space is programmed to be. From the question that you asked, green building. So the last project that I completed, which was in Inwood, Manhattan, it was a very small, somewhat dilapidated church, about 3,000 square feet. We built a new church that was more than double the size of what they had previously, built to their standards with a top-notch AV system, very beautifully designed church. They got $3 million for their ongoing operations, and we funded it by building 164 apartments for senior citizens at 50% AMI, all affordable. The project was Passive House, which is the absolute highest standard of energy efficiency and clean design, and it's an all-electric building, so it doesn't use carbon. And that project was sort of a pioneering project, not only for affordable housing, but for me personally as a developer, because I learned that you have to put in more effort because it's something unique. You have to work with Con Edison in a different way than they're used to. But, there are additional financial sources out there to pay for this sort of stuff. It's less expensive as an ongoing proposition to manage the building. And frankly, it's just worth it. If you can add these things to your project and have better indoor air quality, better access to open space, less use of carbon, less use of energy. It's the way the world is going. And with these projects, if we can help it along, all the better. And this one is extra special. This one, I hope that we can not only do Passive House and all electric, but with the Inflation Reduction Act money and with the 40,000 square feet of land that we have available to us, we can push the limits even further. What that is, we have to honestly hire an engineering and design team to explore what's feasible and pair it with what this subsidy money is. But I think that affordable housing is the #1 goal for this project. And #2 is decarbonization, energy efficiency, and public benefit.
And at a minimum, it will be 100% electric.
I have someone here. And then, well, I'll work my way that way, because I want to make sure that they were here first, and then I'll work my way this way, then I'll go that way, please.
Good evening. I'm Stephanie Anderson from Housing and Land Use Committee. And I'd like to ask about, as per affordable housing, besides basing the rent amount on the applicant's income, will members of the community be favored and put at the top of the list for housing? Or is it open to all of Brooklyn or all of New York City?
Yeah, so the community board preference had been set to 50%. Unfortunately, I believe the city just lost or settled a lawsuit, and that by the time this project opens down the road, it will be at 20%.
20% the community members,
Right. 20% preference for community board members.
and then it will be open to the entire Brooklyn or New York City?
New York City, there's a lottery process, but we'll be sure to prioritize as much as possible getting information out to this community board through, outreach and advocacy efforts as well.
Great, thank you very much.
Also, I think it's important to mention that that's not our preference. That's sort of dictated from on high. And that's the law that we have to follow now.
Yeah, and one other thing I didn't point out, the AMIs, everyone may think they're, don't look familiar to this community, but we're also tied to a regional AMI. So I think when we spoke to Housing and Land Use, many of the people there were familiar with that. So this is a regional AMI that we're working with, not necessarily reflective of the community we're working in.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Jessica Tiburcio, Community Board Member. I have a general question in terms of the actual numbers and comparisons between the 20-story versus the 12-story. So I know, Jesse, you showed us an AMI chart. How substantially would that AMI change if 150 units were lost?
That is a very poignant and good question. I don't actually have a response that is fully baked, but more or less right now, by virtue of building the larger project, we're able to capture economies of scale in both the acquisition value and the development value, because by building the larger project, we are still facing a very similar acquisition value, which if divided by a larger number, that being the units, that value then gets swept back into the project. So what that means is deeper levels of affordability. And so our upward AMI limit is 54% if we're using this ELA term sheet, which is our goal, and we will continue to abide by that goal. So that would be the highest we would be able to go at the 200, the smaller project. However, at the larger project, we're aiming for lower numbers on the affordability scale for the community units. Yeah, so I did the math today. Right now, so there's supportive units, the term sheet's a little wonky, but the supportive units come with a form of rental assistance called 1515, and that actually skews the numbers higher. But if you remove those units, the strictly affordable component is roughly 39% AMI.
One thing we didn't I mentioned that we're going to hire, program staff. I didn't discuss the program, but as Jesse said, it's a 15-15 program. As contemplated, we're looking at 100 units, which is about 25% of the project. The rest, there's a live-in super, and the other 288 units would be affordable through the lottery system. It's New York Housing Connect.
So I'm Desmond Monroe, Chair of Economic Development. So I just had, just some development questions, because the AMI seemed really low and, for the rents. And I was wondering, because how do you plan on supporting the MNO and operating the building with the rents so low? Because I'm just looking at the size of it, you know, and with now maintenance and any building work being prevailing wage, how are you planning on covering that? Is the building gonna like fall into decay? And then also on top of that with the property management fee, right? So how is that gonna work?
Right, so that's a great question also. And that is a bit of a trade-off, right? So the low AMIs mean it makes it more difficult to, one, build and two, maintain operations. But something that comes to us by virtue of what Larry just spoke is it's called NYC 1515. And those rent levels are actually they're subsidies. And so it's rent, we will receive rental assistance on 100 units, and that allows us to cross subsidize the project.
One more thing. There was something that you said, and I'm for the project, but it was something that you said that kind of you said, yeah, we think the community will want this. And I want to know, what data did you use to come up to that conclusion before you even came here? Was it a dream that you knew the community would want this, or did you actually base this project on data and then say, okay, we're going to go ahead and build this?
So I read I can't remember what year it was, the report that the community had put together. Specifically, I think it should be in this slideshow right here, or did we cut it out because for length?
We're trying to edit.
Right, the Bushwick Community Plan. Now, I know there was another plan promulgated by, I think, the city, and there were some conflicting points. So we looked at the city one, we looked at the one that we thought was more authentically from the community and specific to this site. I can't remember what pages this was on, but you know, our site is an M zone, which according to the community plan may be appropriate for residential rezoning only if developed as 100% affordable housing. Higher density development than is otherwise recommended may also be supported. You know, reading through what I could understand from you know, local news articles, the general kind of trajectory of the city, the fact that typically 40,000 square feet of programmable area is viewed as a benefit. I hope I was not presumptuous, but I felt that this would be a project that people could embrace and really champion. And, you know, that's the project that you see and the one that we hope to do.
Good evening, I'm Joanna Vanek, Community Board 4 member. Can you give me a little bit more clarification? I too was a little stunned by the low amounts of the rents. And then you said, I think that part of it is going to do with housing subsidies. So you're talking about city FEPS and Section 8. So then my question becomes, there's a lot of people, because maybe they make $1 too much, they don't qualify for a Section 8 or a city FEPS because of their conditions. How is that selection process going to work? Because are you going to be looking at those people who do have Section 8 and city FEPS that I know, most of us know, pay a lot more money than, is what you're saying, what the payment that the tenant themselves will be responsible for? Or what the program is going to be paying? I'm confused about how you're able to have such a low amount of rent.
I'll have Larry get into the technical details. I just want to answer the first part of your question, which I think is a big question that a lot of people have, which is the deep levels of affordability seem too good to be true in some ways. It's a shockingly deep level of affordability. So let me tell you how I understand it from a big picture, and then these guys can talk about it from a technical perspective. It's two forces working in tandem that amplify the power of each one. The first is the contract that we were able to negotiate with the seller. And apologies if I'm talking, my back is to the rest of the room here. I'm talking in the round here. But so the contract that we got with the seller, where we push off the purchase price for 3.5 years, that's 3.5 years that we're not paying interest on a huge sum of money, dramatically reduces the amount of upfront risk capital and gives us a huge advantage, which we are plowing back into lowering levels of affordability. That's factor number one. Factor number two is we're taking a piece of land that is currently being used to park buses, because that's the only thing it can be used for. Remember, there's an 80-foot wide active freight train line running under the middle of the site, which is the reason it's never been developed for all these years. And the highest and best use is bus parking. We're taking it from that to a 389 unit residential building. So that's a huge, huge creation of value, which again, we're plowing back into lowering the AMI level. So those two things working in tandem, the fact that we get to put off paying what we have to pay for 3.5 years, plus the dramatic change in use from bus parking forevermore to a 389 unit residential building, those two things working in tandem create all this value that is filtering down to allowing us to charge deeply affordable rents. So that's the answer. Yes, yes. I can't answer that question. Let me get Larry.
So as I mentioned, there's an HRA component to this, Human Resources Administration. So the 100 units that Jesse mentioned at $1,100 or so is subsidized by an award from the Housing Preservation and Development. HRA and HPD work in tandem in the New York 1515 program. So tenants are only responsible, the supportive tenants are only responsible for 30% of their of their SSI. So $215, $251, whatever that number is. We have tenants who have FEPs. We have tenants with tenant-based vouchers. We accept any rent, form of rental, but the supportive tenants will basically not come out of pocket, especially if they're on public assistance. HRA would pay for them. The other 288 are through the Housing Connect, which is the city's lottery system. I can tell you in 2018, 2019, when we opened Rogers Avenue, which is 123 units, we had 47,000 applicants for the project. The most we've seen so far is 52 in a large project in the Bronx. So, it's a lottery. It's out of our hands. We'll certainly use somebody as a third party to arbitrate the whole process. But that's, so we can't control that part.
Yeah, and just quickly, the affordable units, nobody pays more than 30% of their income. That's the way it's structured. So that's really important to keep in mind.
Hi, my name is Cecilia Fabian, CB4 member. It sounds like it's unbelievable, right? You have answered a lot of the questions and everything. My concern, I guess it would be that when we are qualifying these people to be able to enter to this amazing place with these affordable prices, I noticed that when we build around, now it's only, if it's 150 units, we only have 25 units for low income. So it's a lottery and it's already built to be safe. So now my concern in this development is that we also have to think ahead of time too of the safety, because it's so affordable. If I am a mother, a working mother with 2 daughters, I want to make sure that my kids come from school and be safe. So safety for me, it'll be something that we will definitely have to focus as well.
Yeah. So thank you. Let me say that the Doe Fund has developed 11 projects. We have over 1,000 units. One of the things we're most proud of is our sort of safe harbor. Our buildings are 24/7 security. We have cameras and lighting. Our director of security was a NYP detective for over 20 years. So when we design our buildings with that in mind, cameras, lighting, security staff are all vetted. Program this population, 1515, there'll be singles. Each unit, each tenant is vetted from HRA and then from program. So, we have mixed populations in all of our buildings. I would offer anyone a tour of Rogers Avenue. We always are willing, if anyone's working in the Bronx, we have projects there. We're in Manhattan as well. Happy to share our experiences with them.
And I'm going to open it up to 3 more board members, 1, 2, 3, then I'm going to open it up to the public, because I know a lot of public people been waiting. So please bear with us. Ask your questions or concern real quick so they can answer them.
Thanks so much for coming. Christian Celeste Tate, CB4 and HLU member. So I do have a question for you. I want to start though just by commending the project. I did a presentation for the HLU committee back in October that looked at all residential development in Bushwick since the community plan. And hardly any development in this community has been at this level of affordability in that time. And even if you look at all available units in this community, hardly 10% of them are at this level of affordability, even though almost half of Bushwick households qualify to live in these units based on income. So that's a tragedy. That's remarkable, and I want to commend the project for finally speaking to those challenges. That said, I do have one question, a concern that we raised in committee, and to be clear, the committee vote of yes with stipulations. One of those stipulations was around this concern, was about community outreach. So would love to hear you talk a little bit more about what plans you have to reach out to not only residents of that block, but the surrounding community as well.
I'll try to take that one. So, you know, we're very proud of the project, and we're talking to everybody that we can possibly think of to speak with. We've been to the Housing and Land Use Committee. We're at the Community Board. We hope to come back to the Community Board many more times. We hope we get the letter of support that we're seeking tonight, but this is an evolving project and process, and we hope this is a regular thing. We've spoken with the council member, the borough president, HPD, and at the last meeting, the Housing and Land Use Committee, there was one member of the public who was there who said, Nicole, who said that she lived on this block and had not been sufficiently informed of what's going on. So, you know, I think our default entry point is through the community board and its subcommittees. However, understanding her concern, I gave her my business card, which has my cell phone and email address. I said, I'm happy to meet with you anytime. I've not heard from her since then, but that offer still stands. I'm happy to give out my cell phone, email, meet with anybody who would like to discuss this project, discuss their concerns in person, on the phone, anytime. I'm a very easy to reach and access person, particularly when it comes to community concerns around these projects. But other than that, I honestly don't know what to do. I don't know what to do other than making myself available all the time and also showing up to the community board and the subcommittees on a regular basis. If anybody has further suggestions as to how we can make ourselves more accessible, I'm happy to do those as well. I just don't know what those would be.
I have one last board member here, then I'm going to open it up to the public, please.
How you doing? Christopher Graham, CB4 board member. You said that the rents, with the notion that it's very low, the subsidy, how long is that valid for?
So the HRA contract is a 15-year contract, but that's just for the 100 or so supportive units. So that includes a rental subsidy for those 15 years. Everyone else is signing 1 or 2 year rent stabilized leases.
And the important thing to really emphasize here is that this project, by virtue of it receiving hopefully an approval from BSA, is that this project in perpetuity forever will remain affordable housing. And that is unique because regulatory agreements, which are the standard with affordable housing development in New York City, they last anywhere from 30 to 60 years, at which point that rent stabilization can expire. But this won't happen here. So it's going to remain sort of, as I said, a beacon for the community as long as it stands.
Because my concern is that, the maintenance, so with the rents being so low over the course of the years, with inflation and all that stuff coming due, you're not having a payment for 3 years. So to speak, in 3 years, you're kind of just skating by. And then in 3 years, when you have to make that payment, it's kind of going to be a balloon payment. If you're just skating by during that time, when the interest comes due, how is that?
Not to get too far into the weeds, but the idea of our long-term option gives us the ability to close on the construction, take out the land at the same time. So we're not coming out of pocket 3 years in advance. So it's baked into our construction budget, which again, I'm happy to ask to get some money from anyone here, but that's the point.
I'll also say, these are the guys that run the numbers. I sort of am involved, but I don't get into the details like they do. But the project that I just completed, 164 units of senior affordable housing, we would each version of the spreadsheet that would ping back and forth between HPD and the development team and the construction company. I think we got up to 300 iterations of this spreadsheet with like thousands and thousands of tabs, factoring in every piece of revenue, every piece of expense, time, this and that. These things are vetted to a degree that you wouldn't think is humanly possible to make sure that the project can pay for itself over time.
Yes, hello, good evening. My name is Kaisha Johnson. I'm part of the Community Board 4. I had a couple questions. One kind of tagged to what he was saying, like over time, will the rent be increasing? So it will like incrementally, because I have family members who live in affordable housing in Williamsburg, and every year their rent is going up like 2%, 3%, which is not much, but over time, you came in paying $1,200, now it's $1,400, for example, over time.
Yeah, so I think that sort of ties back into the gentleman's question right before.
Right.
So in order to combat the higher operating expenses over time, unfortunately, we do have to potentially raise the rents according to rent stabilization law. So rent guideline board increases is what we would.
So it won't be like high, it would just be small.
Right.
Oh, I see.
For 15 years.
Yes.
At a number that's subsidized by the city.
Okay.
So that helps subsidize the rest.
Please use the microphone.
So we're talking about the 288 units,
Yeah,
not
no,
the
I do
100
get that.
units, because we do have subsidies for those.
Right.
The other thing listen, the Doe Fund, as I mentioned, we've been doing this since 1990. Our first residential building was in 1995. We're in Manhattan, we're in the Bronx, we're in Brooklyn. We kind of know what we're doing, at least we think we do. We also have a strong connection to government contracts, to fundraising. We don't fall short of our annual budget, which is currently pegged close to $70 million a year. So any gaps, we figure out how to close them, but we're able to manage our buildings well.
And one other question I had, I can't see the chart, but is there a minimum income? You might have mentioned it earlier. I didn't catch it.
Yeah, so this is just the rent levels, but if you go to if you just Google HPD AMI, you'll see the entire income chart. And roughly these, right about now, they translate. So imagine 100% AMI is $100,000. So 27% AMI would translate to about $27,000.
Gotcha.
And so that's the income.
All right, tenants, residents.
Mr. Camacho, there are people on Zoom that have been waiting patiently. So we have a board member, Raul Brown.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I thought I'd like to I have a lot of personal experience with Riseboro, which is involved in the project, I believe. So I thought I would quickly state
Raul, just a point of information, Riseboro, to my knowledge, is not involved. They're not.
Okay. I'm sorry, I thought they were. Never mind, sorry.
All right.
Good evening. My name is Christine Reed and I live on that block. And I know everyone is very excited for this project, but I, like the young lady said, I live on the block and I got this young lady happened to come to my home last night and left this flyer. Like, we have no idea. I spoke to my neighbors who live in homes right next to us, and everybody was like, what? No one knows anything. And I feel that is not being reached out to us like we should be. So we have no idea about what's going on in our own block.
Well, I understand. Again, when Adam brought us this project, the first thing we did, I reached Celeste probably last summer or fall. We were invited to meetings starting in November. If there's a better way to do it, we're happy to entertain, but we're here now and happy to continue the dialogue. We don't go door to door. We haven't in the past. But if there's a community board meeting, that wants to engage with us, I'm happy to take you to our building on Rogers Avenue or somewhere else where we have property where we can engage in answering any other questions.
I don't think that that's acceptable. Because you should be going door to door. Because you want the community's input. If in the place that's gonna affect them. So I think just because you didn't do it in the past, I don't know where it was that you lived before that they never did it. This. That we do, diligence, if you want community to support you, because it shows, we have been disenfranchised a lot of times when developers come in here and just do the bully tactics. We're not in Christopher Columbus syndrome, where you throw the natives out. Happening here, we want to make sure that you respect them and not door to door and let people know who you are and what you're anticipating and doing in this block, that they pay their mortgages and all that. So we want to make sure that you do that, because I don't think it's acceptable you to come here and say that we don't do that. And
Who's next? Go ahead.
Good after, right here. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cynthia Peña Ortiz. I am the program director of the Bushwick Community Partnership at the Coalition for Hispanic Family Services. We do a lot of outreach, right? The Coalition for Hispanic Family Services has been in this community for 34 years. And as we were developing a plan to write a grant for a family enrichment center, we got community input. As we developed a strategy for our Bushwick Community Partnership, we got community input. When we have Hope Gardens, a cornerstone here, we have a beacon. So I would encourage you to come talk to us. We're a community-based organization that has been here for a while, that does have knowledge and understanding of what this community needs. And if you need some feedback, I'm pretty sure that other community-based organizations are more than willing to collaborate with you and work with schools, work with our parents. We could do town halls. We have a monthly meeting on the third Tuesday of every month from 10 to 12 at Hope Gardens. So you're welcome to come there. There's service providers there that you could get input from as well. Community is present, so, and we're willing to give feedback.
Thank you. I appreciate that. To the point that was made earlier, our initial approach to this project was reading the publicly available information as to what the community expressed that they wanted in a project. We've tried as much as we have been able to tailor this project to exactly what the community expressed its interests were for a project in this location to be. Obviously, you guys are active members of the community, right? So that's the reason we're here. That's the reason we've gone to the Housing and Land Use Committee meetings. That's the reason we set up a meeting with the council member. That's the reason we set up a meeting with the borough president. I look forward to future meetings and engagement. And my apologies if we haven't had an opportunity to meet everybody yet. I think that this is a great forum to be able to meet folks. I have, again, my cell phone number and email on business cards. I have a limited number of them. I'd like to give you one. I'd like to give the woman over there one who said that she hasn't had an opportunity to engage in the process. Please call me, email me. I'm happy to meet you anytime, anywhere to discuss, how we can do a better job on this project. I think that this is the starting point to hopefully a long conversation. I do want to say, though, that what we are seeking now is a letter that will allow us to continue to pursue what we view as the better version of this project and not lose straight off the bat 150 units and the ability to do something interesting with that 40,000 square feet of space, which again, we think that program should come from the community, not from us, not coming in here and saying we figured out it should be X. We had to meet you all. We had to get this project signed up. We had to kind of get it on its feet to match what we think the community may want from what we understood. We need to meet everybody. We need to have those conversations, but at the very least, we hope that we can get this letter so that we can continue to explore the better version of this project. And to be perfectly frank, if we can't, we have a meeting with HPD, they're going to direct us to a less interesting version of this project with far fewer affordable housing units. So I hope that you all will support us in continuing the conversation so that we can incorporate this stuff into the project.
Yep. Can I get a show of hands really quickly? Because we also have people on Zoom. I just want to take a tally. Just what's the total number of folks that want to comment? Please raise your hands. If your hand is not raised, you will not be commenting. Please raise your hands. Okay. So we'll say 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And then over here, did you get Desmond?
Okay, 6.
And Mr. Ceballos?
7.
Okay, 7 folks in person. We have 1 person on Zoom. Proceed.
I'll be the last one in the instead. I'll make sure that I'll cut it short and complete like this.
Hello, my name is Deborah Cook, and I do live on Eastern Parkway. First of all, I would like to direct this to the community board. When you are running for election, we get the door to door. We get 3 and 4 people sometimes ringing our bell saying, will you please vote for me? We haven't heard anything. I'm here to represent Nicole because she had an emergency and she couldn't come. And she presented a letter to the block because no one contacted us as they promised the last meeting. And I believe the community board also said that the block would be contacted and they wasn't. So she made a flyer informing them of everything you said. And this is the concerns that I received from quite a few. First of all, they're upset because they were never notified. And I think she can testify to that. We're also concerned about, it's not that they don't want affordable housing, but why do we have to have 20 stories? That's 300 people on a residential block, 2 family homes. A lot of senior citizens who have stayed there for years. And now they're in fear of what's going to happen with so many people on the block. One of the main concerns was parking. You shouldn't have to be 77, 78, been there for 30, 40, 50 years, and now you have to worry about walking 4 blocks just to get to your house. I think this is a concern for anyone who owns a home that has invested their taxes and you moved into a neighborhood for conveniences. None of the community board lives on Eastern Parkway or the block behind. You're representing who? Because you're not representing us. Okay, second of all, concerned about sanitation, the infrastructure. You're talking about an open space. We have 3 parks. We don't need any more. We're concerned that if there is an open space, that people will come and do things that are not correct at night. And I think you know what I mean by if you live in Brooklyn. And then another thing is, this is Brooklyn. It's not Manhattan. It's not downtown Fulton Street. This is Brooklyn, a residential family-oriented block. And okay, I understand the homeless need a home, people need a low income, but they're also concerned about put an open space for a park, send their children to that park by themselves. So you have to consider the fact that 20 floors, 300 and more people all of a sudden on a quiet 2-family residential block is more than enough.
So again, I don't want to repeat what I said about
these apartments, because usually it's not the people that live in the community, especially since it's a lottery.
So just a point of order, please. If this is testimony and not specific questions that's being provided, let's move on so they can respond in full to everyone that's providing testimony. So you heard those concerns. Let's have the next person, and then we can have them respond in full to all of these. And I believe Nicole is also on Zoom, so she may not have been able to be here in person, but we do have a Nicole Morris. Is that Nicole? She's on Zoom, so we'll get to her as soon as we get through the folks in person.
Hey, my name is Joe Tonelli. I'm a community member here. I wanted to ask, can you speak frankly about some of the risks of going for this larger project, right? You know, you mentioned the increased construction budget. It kind of seems like there's a lot of moving parts needing for the variance, right? Are there risks of this going through in the larger phase and then something going wrong, right? Like what are kind of the risks that you're scoping?
The biggest risk, I think, and you can speak differently, is that, the city has a limited amount of resources for these affordable housing projects. And what they said to us is, why don't you guys do the 12-story, extremely generic, much cheaper version of the project? Because, it will be easier to get city financing for that because it's a lesser amount of all that's available. The Doe Fund is a busy organization. They do a lot of projects. I get to do one project maybe every 5 years. And my philosophy is if you're going to work on something for 5 to 7 years, you should try and make it as good as it possibly can be. So it doesn't scare me, honestly, when they say you may have to wait a little bit to get your funding, because if you did a more generic project, you'll get the funding quicker. Doing a very generic schlocky project and putting 5 to 7 years of my efforts into that is not as nearly as appealing as doing something that I think can be great and really great for the community, and maybe having to wait and have a little risk around when you get your funding. And personally, I think that if you make the project good enough, so good that it generates a lot of community support and excitement, that can help move the needle as to when these things get funded. I'll give you an example. The last project that I built in Inwood, where we built a new church, we gave that church a lifeline by giving them $3 million for their operations. It was passive house, all electric, and it had a 100% copper facade, which is an extremely rare level of design standard for an 100% affordable housing building. It was such a distinct project that everybody got behind it. The council member, the neighbors, and they pushed HPD, and we got the project funded much faster because people said, we want this in our neighborhood. And that's, what we're trying to do here. I can't argue the substance of some of the neighbors who say it's not what they want. We're trying to do our best job to make it a great project, and then ultimately the community board has to decide.
We want to move it along, please.
Sorry.
Good evening. My name is Albert Scott. I'm with Community Board 5 and also with the Homeowners Association. Just 3 key points. Assuming that this variance goes ahead and this is a 20 to 40 stories, did you take in consideration the infrastructure plans? Because I'm assuming with X amount of families, between the sewer lines and things of that nature, that does not grow. So as a result, impact on the residential homeowners could be significant. That's one. And then number 2, as far as true community wealth building and community economic participation, how much of this contract is through will have the potential to go to entities of the local community-based organization? Because clearly, from what I heard so far, there's an outreach situation, but there's a plethora of community-based organizations, individuals you can tap into and utilize them as a resource. And then for full transparency, the economics of this particular plan for it to be so low, can you provide Community Board 4 with a list of these subsidies and the timeframes when these subsidies either expires and how this actually works? Because I have to agree with the brother over there. The math is not matching as far as the monies. And then also, I just want you to say publicly, because I heard a 3-year grace period. You don't plan to sell this project in 3 years as far as cut and run. And then as a result, this is no longer a subsidized property. So if you could just touch on those points, the infrastructure, true community economic participation, and then actually providing a list for CB4, these quote unquote subsidies, because you throw around 15 and some folks are like, what is that? Things of that nature. Thanks.
I'll answer question 1 and 4 briefly, because I've been informed briefly, and Larry can handle 2 and 3, and I'll give you my contact information and we can get into it if you want. So first of all, let me correct you. You said between 20 and 40 stories. No, 20 stories, period. That's what we're seeking. Okay, that was number 1. That was the preamble. Then the first one was the impact to the infrastructure, right? So as part of the BSA process, it's a discretionary approval. You have to do what's called an environmental impact statement. You hire an engineering firm And they study all of the potential impacts, and there's a laundry list of potential impacts. It includes infrastructure, schools, public open space, noise, shadows, air quality, anything you could possibly think of. They've been out collecting data as to what the baseline is. Then they come up with a model as to, if we build our project, how those things will be affected. They show the difference, whether or not there's an impact. And then for each and everything that there is an impact, there may not be an impact for certain ones. Anything that there is an impact, we have to show how we mitigate it and how it's reasonable and doesn't cause any issues. For example, for the sewer line, as you mentioned. So there's a whole process baked in to BSA where we study each of these issues with an engineering team, with HPD, with BSA, and they make sure that's the security that these things are not going to be overwhelmed. And then your fourth point, that we're not going to cut and run, that's also baked in. It's baked in a few ways. There's a few safeguards. Number one is the basis on which we're seeking the variance is that we're doing 100% affordable housing. So that's going to be one of the conditions to give us the zoning that we're seeking. If for whatever reason we didn't do this as 100% affordable housing, we would not get the zoning. The project couldn't exist. Safeguard number two is we're doing this deal through HPD. HPD is going to make us sign a regulatory agreement, which runs with the title of the property that again binds us to the commitment to do 100% affordable housing. And then the last safeguard that I can think of is that the majority partner in this is the Doe Fund, which is a nonprofit organization devoted to the creation of affordable housing. So that's their whole organizational mission. So that's a third safeguard that you have. And then I'll let Larry answer the 2 and 3.
Yeah, so in terms of engagement, let me just start by saying the Doe Fund is a public trust. We've been in business since 1990. And again, we are founded in Brooklyn. We don't cut and run. Most of our work for people from here is workforce training, creating value and giving people meaning and a safe environment in which to thrive, reconnect with families, and provide safe and affordable housing. We have many linkages agreements with multiple other nonprofits. We're members of the Continuum of Care. There is social engagement. We have almost 500 employees. We're very involved and dedicated to working with our communities. I'm happy to give our contact information. And as this process goes on, we will engage with any community-based organization as we look to create value. That might be something to talk about with the 40,000 feet that we think we can develop on the side, if you will, the out parcel. The Doe Fund will create space inside the building, which will have program space. It'll have community room. It'll have a gym. It'll have bike rooms and other amenities. Other communities have borrowed our spaces, our public spaces, for community board meetings. Police precincts have had meetings in our buildings. So we engage, we're here, we're not going anywhere. Our founder created the Doe Fund with the notion of feeding the homeless in Grand Central Station for 700 consecutive days. We take his mission very seriously. And I didn't mean to be flippant at all about not reaching out to local neighbors. We will engage you. We will invite you to our projects so you can see what we do. And we're happy to continue talking.
Got one right here. It's okay, because if you don't, we will.
Hi, my name is Amy Collado. I'm a tenant organizer at BHIP. I do want to point out in terms of like the who is in charge of this. So Adam, you actually mentioned being an attorney, a zoning attorney, but I also want to add that you represent owners and landlords and real estate, which is important to note. So question for y'all, you mentioned about cutting costs to make this to remain affordable. But I'm assuming that cutting those costs is not coming out of your pocket. So would you be willing to share how much the developers on this project will be making? And would you be willing to commit to taking a cut in creating a safety and sustainability plan built into the project so that we have things more than just live in super, but we have a porter, we have a team of contractors that are certified and able to do the work. Would you be willing to share whether you would commit to taking a cut and building in a better project?
Well, I think the Doe Fund prides itself on its developments. Again, I'd encourage anyone to come see what we've built. There will be a full staff in this building. Again, prevailing wage salaries for the maintenance staff and security. Job fairs, we've had them in other in areas. We're happy to have them here. One of the sources of this project are deferred developer fees. So although the numbers haven't been contemplated, we're not in this to make money. We're a nonprofit. We're a 501c3. So, the idea is to create a safe and affordable housing. And, based on our conversations with housing and land use, it seemed to be, it resonated with people. If you want to put things in your letter of support, we're happy to engage in those conversations. We don't have numbers yet. I can't tell you I'm going to hand you $1 million of a developer fee. I don't know what I have, but maybe Jesse can.
Yeah, so the way affordable housing finance is sort of structured is that if you have higher rents, you can build a bigger project, right? But by virtue of the fact that we're targeting lower rents, we are in essence taking a cut already. And so that is why we're going as deep as we can. It's part of our mission. And so this is a mission-driven project, not necessarily a 421A tax abatement market rate deal with 80-20 splits. That's not our objective.
There we got one here, and then we got two more over there, and then that should be it. And then my last comment.
It'll be quick. Name Earl, resident of Brooklyn. Why did it go from 50% of people living in a community to only 20% or in the neighborhood, on the street, in the block, and they get displaced in the future somewhere else and they don't have a chance to stay because market rent keeps going up. No one knows it's not going down. And then so they want to stay where they've been 20, 30, 40, 50 years, but they don't get a chance because it goes from 50% of people living should be first cease period down to 20%. How did that happen first? And then the other one is displacement. It's the same thing. And speaking to a challenge does not guarantee positive resolution. And how did it go? How did it go to you all wanting to have a letter Monday? This is the end of a business day, Wednesday. So you're talking Thursday, Friday, and you want it by the end of the day, Monday. How did that happen without people having better notice?
So I'll try and answer all your questions very briefly. So the 50% to the 20%, we have nothing to do with that. That's a city law. A court case, I guess, dictates that. Your second question, I'll try and answer them, and then if you have a follow-up. Second question is displacement. So this is a bus depot parking, right? It's going to go from 0 residential units to potentially 389 affordable residential units. So it's like the opposite of displacement. It's taking something where nobody lives on this particular piece of land to 389 affordable units. A portion of those will be for people from the community. So again, opposite of displacement. And then the last point about the short turnaround time, I'm sorry, that's HPD telling us that they want to give us direction on this project by the 25th. We initially went into HPD. We thought that they would be very excited about, more deeply affordable units. But what we didn't anticipate was that they have a mandate to spread resources all throughout the city. They said, we don't know if this community wants those resources. Maybe we'll put those resources in another community. And we said, please, we really, really want an opportunity to go to the community and get an indication of their support, because we don't want to lose the opportunity for this incredible project and this additional 150 affordable units. They said, fine, go to the community, sprint, get your letter if you can, come back here on March 25th. If you get that letter, we'll entertain the larger project with all the bells and the whistles. So here we are. This is it. If we get a letter, we can continue on the path towards that, I think, better project. And if we don't, we have a meeting with HPD on Monday, and they're going to tell us do the other smaller,
I am a community member of Community Board 5. So thank you for allowing me here. Back in my old stomping grounds, it's good seeing some faces. Good seeing you, Al. We got sent the bat signal from Housing Land Use CB4, so y'all doing y'all work. Thank you. And yesterday's CB5 Housing and Land Use Committee meeting. I'm gonna do half testimony and lead to a question. So, you know, this comes in the backdrop of a bigger elephant. You use the word big, and I see you take pride in the word big. You know, this comes in the backdrop of Broadway Junction development Totem is proposing. And they've meeting with us routinely. Hi, Christian. It's good seeing you. And they're actually, and this is why Al uses 20 to 40 stories, because they're proposing 29 stories. This is what I'm going to get to, which is a concept of precedence, right? Opening a Pandora's box. And we get into issues when we talk about zoning and transit-oriented development, but everything east of Aberdeen is actually manufacturing. South of Atlantic is your IBZ, Industrial Business Zone. You guys are turning manufacturing to residential land, right? Getting huge value in that. But, you know, we don't risk the sky in building 100% affordable housing. We just don't. Why don't you build 1,000 units if that's the case? And I just happen to say, like, I'm the steward of, I help steward a building. I partake in a community land trust on my leisure time. And we just purchased the first building, 20 units. 20 units, thank you, clap it up, Kate. 20 units, and we take pride in economies of scale. Like, it's like scale of quality of life. And I got a call at 2 a.m. from Gabriel about a leak in his building. 2 a.m., kindergarten teacher. Turn up. You might keen turn that building to a third-party management company. Might. I don't know how you manage buildings. They're probably away. They're not gonna answer that 2 a.m. call. My simple question is, and this is great because you're a zoning attorney, and I haven't seen a zoning yet. That's my simple question. What is the zoning being proposed for the 20-story building versus the 12-story building? Because this wonderful, beautiful lady is right. This is not downtown Brooklyn, right? And so what's your zoning proposal for the 20-story building, the 12-story building? Last time I checked, there's not even a 12-story building all across Bushwick. And East New York rezoning, mostly all of Bushwick, and East New York rezoning approves like 12 stories to 14 stories on their rezoning. We don't miss the sky. So my question is, what's your zoning for both proposals? And what is a comparable zoning of either one anywhere near Bed-Stuy, Ocean Hill, Brownsville, Bushwick, Williamsburg, etc.? Thank you.
I'm going to try not to geek out on the zoning too much, but as a broad overview point, I just want to say, you know, thank you everybody for allowing us into your community board meeting, hopefully into the community. I think it's important to emphasize that the project that we're proposing and the way we're going about it is not a nefarious plot. You know, they are a nonprofit affordable housing developer and social service provider. The only projects that I've ever built are affordable housing projects. My background is as a zoning attorney, and I try and leverage that knowledge set to build good projects that are 100% affordable.
I'm so sorry. We're on a
Sorry.
time crunch here. We just.
So I'm trying to
question.
answer the question. So, well, it's not a variance. You don't propose a zoning district. You go through the 5 tests. So it would be like an R7, because you have to remember, this is the key. We're building on 1/3 of the site. So let's say that you're going to build a 6 or 7-story building, whatever it is. If you're going to build that horizontally across the whole site, you'd have the same number of square feet. But because you can't build over that train tunnel and you can't build into that 2 triangles, you're taking the same exact number as a 7-story building or whatever it would be. I haven't done the math. And you're massing it on 1/3 of the site, and then you're leaving 2/3 of the site open. And then because you're leaving 2/3 of the site open, it's a buffer between the height of the building and the neighboring residential buildings, the equivalent of 20 townhomes. And then you say, okay, we have 40,000 square feet that we're not building on. Let's do something positive here. That's what it is. You're taking a horizontal orientation that you can't build because of an active rail line, and you're flipping it vertical. And I think the totem project is an interesting foil to our project. That's, what is it, 30-story buildings, something like that?
We're gonna have to leave the totem project for CB5 meetings.
Yeah.
We need to move on and focus on CB4. Desmond?
So I wasn't gonna bring this up until you mentioned your job training. And one thing I know you did say you were adding a certain amount of jobs to the community, but one thing I didn't hear was like the exact, like, I wanted some like dollars, like direct and indirect job direct or indirect job circulating in the community in the local economy, or I know you said construction jobs, but I wanted to see if you guys had a number in the workers' earnings, like what they're gonna get.
Sure. Well, you know, our GC will be handling subcontracts. That's not necessarily what we do, but the contract is going to be in excess of $100 million. So there'll probably be 14 to 20 trades involved in that. Again, job fairs for the local constituents. The Doe Fund hires locally. Program staff, our program director is someone with a master's of social work at least, or a PhD. Those salaries are probably in the 75 to 85, 90,000 range. The super is going to be a live-in super. Salaries are in the 70,000 range. Porter and staff are in the 50,000 range. Security staff.
All electric, prevailing wage, operating. Right here, a full-time super earns roughly $145,000. A full-time porter earns roughly $115,000.
Well, he took it from me. So there's also an economic impact around, I'm a developer as well. So, and we definitely included a lot of the local merchants and leaders and however we can in our developments. And so I just wanted to see like how that money was going to spread instead of, because sometimes when you have your preferred GC and you don't have to bid and you don't have to do that, especially if it's not, tied to those kind of components, then you could just point and shoot at who you want instead of really spreading the wealth. That's why I wanted to know.
Sure. So as part of, we'd likely be seeking sources, capital sources. So that means money from the city, money from the state, and they have requirements for MWBE, for SVDOB. These are acronyms for, I think, veteran-owned businesses, minority and women business associations. And so we'd be hitting these targets. I think they're roughly 30% for the MWBE. We don't have hard cost numbers that are fully baked yet. And so I can't tell you applying a multiplier exactly what the dovetail to the community would be. We're not that far along, sorry.
Felix Ceballos again. I was in another meeting with Jesse, Iron and Larry, and one of the bigger concern we mentioned was the family had the big impact for the project, had to know. Everyone had to know about the project. And another thing is, please, you have to consider it, because the same thing is a hard situation we live. The same thing, the hard situation we have with the parking. And please consider it to include parking in the project. And the last, the hard situation also right now is the community need affordable housing. Thank you.
So we have folks on Zoom. Nicole is first, and then I believe we have someone from a tenant union. Nicole?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, I am the person from the last meeting. So as I've noticed, things have changed, especially with the amount of affordable housing. But my biggest thing, as I've listened on and on, because obviously I'm not there, what is so wrong with the project not being big and grandeur and this whole big 20-story? Because like you said, y'all went and HPD said, oh, great, 12 stories. And you're like, well, we need 20. I understand this just seems like the bottom line is more beneficial to the builder, the developer, not really, than the actual community. Because when you come to the community, this ain't it. And we always have to remember, and I keep saying this location is technically not Bushwick. It is technically East New York. And shout out to CB5 for coming because it affects them too. 300 plus is too much. And also with the safety concern, because now you're going to bring in so many more people. I understand you got security, but then what about the rest of us? Same thing with the lighting, because at that level is everybody's 2-story house. Is the lighting, like when they start building, because people have had that issue where you get these buildings and the lighting is going right in your window. And so it's like, we really need more detail as to who would be there and what the structure is of this facility, basically. Because at this point, it doesn't even sound like kind of an apartment building. It's sounding like a facility. And also with the public usage, is it truly going to be public use? Because if you're going to build these amenities like the gym and the rooms and stuff, do we get it as the community all the time? Can we call in your security if one of your residents are acting up? Like, these are the questions that we need answered moving forward. And as always, I'm for the 12-story because I live right next door. And I know you want big and grandeur because that's great for you, but it's not great for us. And we've expressed it, and nothing in like a mile is this big. And the only thing that is that big has its own space that's way bigger than what is already there. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Before we get responses, please let's have the tenant union and anyone else on Zoom.
Yes, hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I just had a brief question about whether or not, this
Please
is
let us
Matt.
know who you are.
Sure, this is Matt, a community organizer with Full-Time Tenant Union. Just wondering if a unit goes vacant, would it then be subject to losing the affordability subsidy, rent stabilization status?
No.
Thank you.
All right.
I'd like to answer Nicole's question also.
Yeah. Is there anyone else on Zoom first, Kim? All right.
So
please.
first, a point of clarification. So the term next door neighbor, I don't think is accurate, again, because we have 40,000 square feet of space, the equivalent of 20, single family buildings in between what would be our building footprint and the closest residential neighbor, which is a substantial amount of space. But I want to thank Nicole for her question because I think it really crystallizes the issue. There's two possible projects here. We think that the larger project, the big project, the 20-story project is better for the following reasons. There's 150 more deeply affordable units. It allows us to hire a team of, world-class designers that's going to create, I think, a far better product at the end of the day. And we're going to be able to grab resources that allow us to program that 40,000 square feet of space after discussing it. And if we do the 12-story building, we can't do any of those things. We'll lose 150 affordable units. The design standard will be very generic and the cheapest level possible because that's what HPD is going to direct us to do. And we won't have any resources to do anything with that 40,000 square feet of space. And if you think it's a safety concern, I would respectfully submit that an unprogrammed 40,000 square feet of space is, potentially a more significant safety concern than if you figure out something beneficial to do with it in conjunction with the community. And that's a decision the community board needs to make. We have, unfortunately, Earl, we have a tight deadline that was imposed on us by HPD. We can grab a lot more of the city's resources for this community if you support the project that we would like to build that we think is better, that is not fully baked. And we would like to discuss with the community what it has the potential to be. But, it's a stark decision. And if you all don't support it, we'll do the 12-story, fewer affordable units, far less interesting and far less benefit for the
All right,
community
well,
project.
Well, thank you for making your presentation. We will have our committees and the members address the issue. I just want to let the people that live in that area, I don't know if they can, if it's in regards to a set aside meeting when they make it up where it doesn't infringe on how it looks. Because what happens is we may say no to this project, And here comes one of the scoopest developments, which we have it in my block, that'll turn around and know how to cut corners and don't need to come here. And then you don't have a 20, you have a 25. And then you're gonna come here, why? Because as of right, be careful what you wish for. Don't come back to this community board while we say no to your plan for deeply affordable housing. I like with them. We need to put pressure on them to make sure they take care of the homeowners there. We want to make sure that this plan, if there's a homeowner that's a senior that needs a roof to be built, there's stuff to be done. Let's take advantage of them to make sure that we take care of that person. To make sure that they need subsidies in regards to pruning, because the government city ain't got no more money. Building flower beds, making sure that they take care and be a community in the community. I have a tall building in my block. It was 3 families, 3-family little homes. They did this huge building, but you know what I did in the block? I said, we're gonna build it, but we're gonna make sure that the people that built it are gonna do the right thing by us. And whenever the landlord comes, rings my bell, is everything all right? Do the community needs anything? Are the noise okay? Are you friendly with your neighbors or bringing a cake to your neighbors? Remember, Latinos, we gotta take care. If this is the only place we have to feed our people and to feed our kids, we really need to focus on, do we want that? They read the BCP plan, the Bishop Community Plan. And this is the spot. And then I'm with it or with it, but I'm not happy with the variance. The variance is, as SOB is a hardship. So if you got all that money, then why use a hardship?
And why a lot of them don't do that? No,
Because we're not putting pressure on them to do it. So we need to make sure that the community is heard. The people that live in that area, make sure that they do what they said they're gonna do. Make sure that you have checks and balances or whatever it is, whether 20 or 12, we don't know what it is. Because remember, as of right, you may not have them a CBO, you're gonna have someone as a right to clear variance, because we had one on Bushwick and came to us and told us it was a that we had hardship, but we sold it for $11 million. And then they turned around and did it. None of us were there. None of us. So be careful what we wish for. So please, thank you.
All right, and then final comments from the presenter.
Yeah, I just would like to say thank you, Mr. Camacho, and to pick up on what Mr. Camacho was saying. I just want to remind everybody, the Housing and Land Use Committee did vote to support this project at 20 stories. Why? Because the affordability. We only voted to support this letter with stipulations. The stipulations are, and I will read them right now. Let me pull it up because I think they're very important because they address a lot of the questions that people have raised very importantly. Every single question here has been important. There must be robust and long-term engagement and outreach, both immediate neighbors and the wider community. If you guys build this project, we expect to see you at CB4 a lot for the next 5 years. And this number, also look into the potential inclusion of parking and then maintain at a minimum the levels of affordability presented today. And you are doing the last stipulation, which is present to the full board. But basically, I do want to wrap this up. I think Celeste is going to give us all the stink eye in very short order, unless we do wrap this up. So I think this has been an incredibly important discussion. And I think it was really good that we got all of this out there. And I think it's going to be an ongoing conversation. But again, HLU supported it at 20 stories because of the affordability.
Thank you, Ann. We can leave it there. Thank you.
I just want to, I'm going to come around with my card.
We gotta open to our board meeting, please. So we got a roll call, first roll call. Yeah, yes.
All right, so we're gonna wrap up the public hearing, everyone. As we do that, I ask board members quietly, please help yourselves to some dinner in the back. Quietly. and we will move forward with the regular meeting. Mr. Camacho.
Real quick, this meeting of Community Board 4 is called to order on, March 20th, Wednesday at 7:45. Wow, almost 8 o'clock. Wow. At, please, if, the board policy is to engage in detailed public discussions of matter before the board at our community meetings. Please, no, we don't want to hear if anybody has issues, please, go to committee and make sure, we got the first roll call.
All right, and just a note on the timing, folks, it is not that I don't want to be here having these conversations with you all night. It is the calls I get tomorrow when everybody says, why were we there so late? That is why I attempt to keep us on track with the time, because I've been asked by the board members to do so. We will move on to the first roll call. Board members in the back, please listen up. Isa Abney is excused. Stephanie Anderson. Jolena Bennett. Joshua Brown is excused. Makiba Brown Elaine. Raul Brown.
Present.
Robert Camacho.
Present.
Melissa Claire Solano is excused, but I believe also remote. Thank you, Melissa. Felix Ceballos. Christian C. Tate. Andrew Choi. Albina Davis. Cecilia Fabian. Freddie Fowler. Joanna Fuentes. Christopher Graham. Please sign Chris. Ann Guiney. Zachary Hendrickson. Tanisha Johnson, Tanisha Honeygan.
Present. Present.
Gotcha, Tanisha. Barbara Jackson. I got you, Barbara. I know you're helping with the food. Taisha Johnson. Virgie Jones is excused. Tara Jones Thomas. Please sign. Luisa Jose. Thank you. Nicholas Kaplan. Edward Kopp. Christine Malden. Raman Mama. Mary McClellan. Desmond Monroe. Zuma Navoa. Caitlin Penner. Raul Rubio. Eliseo Ruiz. Milagro Sandoval. Bernardina Shell. Barbara Smith.
Present.
Gotcha, Barbara. Maria Soler. Dustin Sonborn. Annette Spellin. James Stewart. Jessica Tibercio. Ben Tucker. Jerry Valentine.
Present.
Got you, Jerry. Tashana Wade. All right, we'll do a tally. Remote doesn't count. 31 board members present, that constitutes a quorum. Thank you, everyone. Board members, please sign if you have yet to sign. Next, we have acceptance of the agenda. Is there a motion from the board? Zachary Hendrickson, is there a second? Raul Rubio seconds, all in favor? Any opposed, any abstentions? So moved. Agenda item number 3, acceptance of the previous meeting minutes. Is there a motion? Caitlin. Is there a second? All in favor? Any opposed, any abstentions? So moved. Agenda item number 4. Quiet, everyone.
Hello, please, thank you. Chairperson's report, February 22nd, 10 a.m. on Zoom. I know Congresswoman Nina Velasquez had a small business loan workshop through SPS. I went to their meeting there. Please, guys, I'll lower it down if you guys lower it down. Now I talk louder because I can talk loud. Thursday the 22nd, which at 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. I did a basketball clinic at 422 Central for Hope Gardens kids there. On Thursday the 22nd, 6 p.m., 195 Lincoln, a tenant association meeting, participating. On Friday the 23rd, Black History Month. I want everybody to give a round of applause. Annette Spelling received an award that day. Never Soul. She received an award Congresswoman Nita Velazquez, Assemblywoman Marissa Davila, and all of them members. On Saturday, the 21st at 11, there was immigration workshop. There were about 700 or 800 people there. It was horrendous. They came for work applications, they came for IDs, they came, thank you to Congresswoman Nita Velazquez, all the both assembly person and all of them for doing this. They gave IDs to them, they brought information services that they needed at 1475 Gate. So it was good and it was very well attended. I was on vacation. The February 25th to the 3rd, I gotta put it on, but I was on Zoom. The 27th, I went to the Economic Development Committee meeting. On the 28th, I went on the Arts and Culture Committee meeting. On March 5th, Tuesday, I came back on the 3rd. I went to the Borough Board's meeting. On the Borough Board meeting, the topic was the Foxes Park Alliance were presented with a 25-acre master plan, construction and most development design of phase 1, the Lake Shore waterfront restoration project. So they approved it. Phase 1 received $3 million in funding for the Brooklyn delegation and the Mayor Adams funded the construction. It should start by 2026. Also, they did a vote on the city of Yes. It didn't look too good, but hopefully we can work with them to make sure that it was. I had to make sure that the board made the corrections in regards to roll call in casting the vote. There were 6 yes, 11 no, and 12 abstentions. Just for the city of Yes, just to clarify. Also, March 6th on Wednesday, I was on Zoom with our district manager, Celeste Leon, about North Park. There was a newspaper article wanted to find out the situation in regards to North Park, that people been using it as a dog park and it's permitted as a baseball field. So we had a nice discussion. I don't know what they wrote, but I let them know how we feel and how the community feel on the 6th executive board meeting. In the executive board meeting, I wanted to let you guys know I have the executive board meeting. There was several things that I wanted you to know. I know there was a M, and it's only informational. There is nothing to vote on this. There was the mayor personal order, which was an increase for in wages for district managers and or assistant managers. Since we don't have an assistant manager, is a 1.43% of increase. So you guys know our district manager don't make $180,000, so that doesn't affect us. But we wanted to make sure that this increase is retroactive, and I want to make sure that we see it. It starts from the 21st, and there's going to be a bonus. All employees will receive a $3,000 lump sum payment. As of now, I know she didn't receive anything that I know of. Well, we'll find out what's going on with that money, because I'm going to see it. And it's going to be in our budget, but it's going to be for an increase for Celeste Leon, which is 1.43%. Also, it's retroactive from May 24th, 2021, all the way to May 25, 2025. Than that, also, I want to let you know, I think I don't know if we should talk about it in the district manager committee. All right, so I can do it there. Also, I want to let you guys know that we received a letter on board president also a letter to the board members in regards to term limits. I see that it says no board members have indicated they received a letter. When it's not true, they did. It's not true. That was old, but it's an old email, but we did receive. I know Celeste fixed.
That email was sent a month before we found out that board members actually received the letter.
Yes, so Please, board members, even if you are, make sure you fill in the application and let the board president do his job. Or let the council do their job. Because, you know, it's voting season and we gonna know if they're gonna not put us on or not. So we want to make sure that we use our discretions and put in your application. Let them, excuse me? Oh, the deadline passed, thank you. Thank God, Jesus. So I'm safe, right? I don't gotta get yelled at, thank you. Also, let me finish my report before I go. Also, March 7th, from 5 to 8, Department, thank you, Congresswoman, Senator Julia Salazar, she did a Department of Finance taxation for homeowners. Thank you, she did a program where people can get breaks and fill out paperwork to make sure they don't pass, I think it's $58,600 or something dollars, and they'll lower the taxes. On December 12th at 6 p.m., Permits and License Committee, on March 13th at 10:30, a district cabinet meeting, 12 o'clock. It was so funny because that same day, me and Celeste went to another community board at 9 o'clock in the morning to do our district cabinet because we had to go downtown for the state of the city speaker. We started at 12, Councilwoman Adrian Adams. And then at 5, we had to come back to go to the 18th Precinct Council, Inspector Sue. We had all the nightlight people that participate, owners, and talk about the licenses, complaints, quality of life issues that they've been having on Wyckoff, on Troutman and Jefferson. Celeste was part of that meeting with us on Wednesday. That same day at 6:30, we went to the borough board's address. So we was all day out there. And I want to thank the 18th Precinct Council, the 3 police officers, because they took us over there in less than 20 minutes. I don't know how they did it, but we got there in time. At 6:30 Wednesday, the board went to his address. I know a lot of board members were upset because they were standing outside in line. I know. Hopefully, the board president addressed the issue because a lot of people couldn't get in. It was so crowded, but hopefully we'll fix that and work with him to make sure on Thursday, CB4 Economic, I was in CB4 Economic Development Sanitation Committee on Friday from 9 to 11. Celeste was on the panel with Riseboro, breakfast, luncheon at 1875 and myself. On the 19th, February 19th, Tuesday at 10, I was in the phrase in the construction site to a rack conversion that they're taking the boilers out and putting them out of the basement and bringing them up because there was too much flooding. So we're starting the process now. Hopefully everything will start working out. We could take all those boilers out the basement. Also, I went on a Zoom meeting with, I know some of the board members were on the outdoor dining program updates. I know there's going to be a lot of things in that on Tuesday at 6:30, the 18th Precinct Community Council. The same day, Hope Garden. Zuma said Camacho can be heard. Okay, talk directly into the mic. Oh, I'm sorry. They said that I'm talking too loud into the mic, so I got to be quiet. Somebody even sent me a sticky note. All right. I'll try to be quiet. On February 20, Wednesday, 10 a.m., the 18th Precinct Clergy. I also went to the 18th Precinct Council at 11:30. We had a meeting with the elected officials and Hope Garden's ownership. There was a lot of problems in regards to their rents, in regards to maintaining the buildings were pretty clean. I know Jonathan is here from the Congresswoman's office. He came. Thank you, the Councilwoman Fran that works with her. Thank you for coming out and we going out and checking out the buildings. Thank you, and helping our constituents and our tenants with a lot of problems that they're having and making sure that their rent is up to par. They indicated they've only been here for 50 days. They're picking up the bills that the other company had, and they're trying to checks and balances, and there've been a lot of problems. I know we got tenants that received $10,000 in arrears that they owe for rent, which is absolutely not true. So we want to work with them to make sure that the rent structure and the payments are good. Also, at 2:30, I met with Scott Schwartz from Riceboro with Casa Posiva. I'm working with Casa Posiva because a lot of these tenants, one, don't trust Riceboro anymore. Two, they're not in compliance when they say they want to come out. And three, they want me to work with them to make sure they do the recertification. They have to do two. A lot of times the tenants don't know you have to do two recertification, one for the funding and one for the 30%. And also the building have to pass inspection because once they get certified, they need to pass inspection because if not, they won't get the funding. So I'm trying to make sure that our tenants in Casa Posiva, which is the ones on Linden, make sure that they submit their documents so like that Riceboro can get the funding because they only pay 30%. And if they don't check their buildings to make sure they're doing compliance, the remaining money the city will give to them. So we want to make sure that. And today is the full board meeting, and that is the end of my report. Damn, are y'all saying thank you? Y'all telling me hurry up and get out.
Thank you, Mr. Camacho. Everyone else that has not gotten food, members of the public, you're more than welcome to help yourself to some food as well if you'd like. We will keep moving on with the meeting. If there are any questions for Mr. Camacho or his report, going once, going twice, we will move on. Introduction of elected officials or representatives. I do not believe we have any elected officials with us this evening on Zoom. Well, not the actual member. Okay. Representatives, please, if you're here in person, come up to the front. Mr. Camacho will bring you the mic. Name and contact information only.
Name and contact information only. I don't want to hear nothing else.
And Zoom, please raise your hand if you're on Zoom.
Good evening. My name is Fran. I work for Councilmember Sandy Nurse. Our office number is 718-642-8664.
Good evening. Jonathan Banco, representing Congresswoman Ada Velasquez. Office information, we're located at 266 Broadway, Suite 201, and our office phone number is 718-599-3658.
Hi, Lacey Talbot, Brooklyn Borough President's Office. We're at Brooklyn Borough Hall, 718-802-3894.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Maria Valdez from the Office of Senator Julia Salazar. We are located at 212 Evergreen Avenue. Phone number is 718-573-1726.
Good evening, Pablo Rivera from Assemblyman Eric Dillon's office. We are 366 Cornelia, and our office number is 718-386-4576.
Thank you. Jonathan on Zoom.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Jonathan Pomboza, Brooklyn DA Eric Gonzalez's office. We're located at 350 J Street, and our phone number is 718-250-2340. Thank you.
Thank you. Juan.
Hey everyone, Juan Mayanzala here from Councilmember Jennifer Gutierrez's office. We're located at 244 Union Avenue. You can reach us out at 718-963-3141. Thank you.
All right, I see no other, I see one more hand who's at the bottom. Oh, okay, one, if there are no other elected officials or representatives, we'll move on now to.
Yes,
both
I'm
agents.
sorry. Is government agencies able to speak to as well?
We're elected officials only right now.
Okay, no problem.
We're moving on to agencies, if you just give me a chance. Agencies and community-based organizations are next. Please raise your hand if you're here in person. Please come to the front and we'll bring the mic to you. I don't see anyone in person, so we'll go to Zoom. Venus, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, everyone. Good evening, Venus Canterbury from the Civilian Complaint Review Board.
Your contact information?
Oh, I'm really sorry. My contact information is email is vscantlebury@ccrb.nyc.gov, and my cell phone number is 917-742-4098.
Thank you. Go ahead, in person.
Clearly, I don't know my way around the microphone. My name is Amy Collado again. I'm a tenant organizer with Bushwick Housing Independence Project, or BHIP, for those who recognize that name. And I just wanted to promote really quickly that we have a community meeting next Wednesday. My phone number is 929
I'm so sorry, Amy. It's just name and contact info right now. Just
Phone number. Okay, Amy, phone number 929-324-7358. Thank you.
thank you. Seeing no one else on Zoom, we'll keep moving. With the 83rd precinct, is there anyone here from the precinct? Going once, going twice? Seeing no one, we will move on now to the district manager's report. That is my report. So good evening, everyone. Happy Spring and Women's History Month, as well as belated St. Patrick's and International Women's Day. I hope you've been able to enjoy the longer days and related activities. As a reminder, we are looking forward to the following upcoming events this year. Next Thursday, there will be a CB4 OCM, that's the Office of Cannabis Management Community Board Info Session. That's Thursday, March 28th from 10 to 11. There will be a second Bushwick Nonprofit Roundtable, Wednesday, April 3rd from 10:30 to 12 p.m. And then the 12th annual Shape Up Bushwick will be Thursday, June 6th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. in Irving Square Park. Flyers for the first two events are available in the back, and we will have the Shape Up Bushwick flyer by next month's meeting. I will also summarize some of the meetings that I've attended in the past month. On February 22nd, while I was actually away, I met with the Center for Urban Pedagogy in reference to the Community Board Term Limit Project. This is, as we all know, board members after Charter Revision Commission are term limited starting in 2027, and then in 2028, another half will no longer be eligible to serve on the board. There's been concern across both Brooklyn and the city. Community Board 4 has been having discussions about how to address and retain institutional, cultural, neighborhood, political, etc. knowledge. And so with this project, we'll hopefully be able to design some type of tool and a process. There will be a panel over the summer where folks will be able to participate and provide more feedback on term limits. And on Monday, March 4th, I spoke with Chelsea Kelly from Council Land Use just in advance of City of Yes zoning for housing opportunity. Many of you may recall economic opportunity, the 18 proposals. There's a lot of information. We anticipate there will be a lot more information as it relates to housing, and we want to be as prepared as possible. We'll be working closely with Ann, the committee chair, as well as Desmond on both of those. And Mr. Camacho already referenced the call with Bindu Basanath from New York Magazine, The Cut, regarding Central Knoll Sports Field being overrun with dogs at the expense of local youth in the community. I just want to say thank you. We were told that someone from the neighborhood indicated that the park has not been able to be used for the youth, and they reached out to see if they would be willing to cover and write a story. So we don't know if the story is going to be published, but we do appreciate folks that care enough to suggest that the New York Magazine covers this and highlights a very important issue that's happening in the neighborhood. On March 8th, I had a check-in. Folks may not know there's a lot happening behind the scenes at the community board. We have 2 full-time staff, including myself, Kim. We have 1 part-time staff member who's relatively new, Adelina. And then we have a community planning fellow from the Fund for the City of New York. And we also have a graduate student intern. And I could go on and say we are potentially working with the doctoral student as well. So there's just a lot that's happening, a lot of projects. Jared Hicks is a former board member. He's also a graduate student, and he's helping with the Statement of Community District Needs and the CB4 City Planning Living City Project engagement handouts. So I look forward to him sharing more information on that in the future. And I flagged here on Tuesday, March 12th, the Borough Service Cabinet meeting only because the Mayor's Community Affairs Unit presented on the neighborhood support teams. We were a part of a neighborhood support team last year. Folks recall specifically off of the Jefferson L stop to address nightlife quality of life concerns. That is not finished. And as Mr. Camacho mentioned, we were invited to a nightlife meeting recently. We were all on a panel with the mayor's office, with the Office of Nightlife, as well as DEP, and I believe I'm forgetting one other person. Who else was there? That was it. And then just the precinct, representatives from the precinct. There was a DV officer as well as the inspector. I got him. Yeah. And so we thank the 83rd Precinct Inspector Sarubi for the opportunity to participate and to interact with the nightlife establishments, letting them know not only the board's role, but of course the concerns that the community shares with us during those meetings. and also that we receive in the office. And I want to highlight the state of the city address, as Mr. Camacho mentioned. In order for us to make it there on time, thank you to CB6 in Brooklyn for allowing us to use their office to host our Borough Service Cabinet meeting. It was greatly appreciated. And on Thursday, March 14th, I had two different meetings with city planning. One was in reference to the community district needs. There's a new submission website that they'll be providing trainings for over the course of the next few months, as well as a call with our borough liaison to talk about scheduling timelines for the 460 Troutman Street rezoning and City of Yes for Housing Opportunity. City of Yes for Housing Opportunity is scheduled to come to the board sometime in the spring, and it remains unclear when that will be and how that might overlap with the summer recess. So it remains to be seen. And the last thing I want to highlight is just a call that I had with Alicia Blandon, the community planning fellow. Dustin Somborn, the committee chair, joined that meeting as well. And we went over what her final project, the draft, will entail. I want to be very clear, folks. There were only 5 submissions, 5 total, over a month for the Cultural Archive project. Everyone that's here today, there are flyers in the back. We know that it's challenging to put together a project like this, but there's still time. Send a photo, send an old letter, send something that really highlights what Bushwick's culture is. We know that this neighborhood is changing, and we want to find a way to help memorialize, commemorate, and celebrate, highlight these stories here. And we want it to be something that's driven by the community and not just a grad student that may be here momentarily or someone that's just passing through the neighborhood. So please, there's still time. I will be submitting a few photos myself, and I hope you all will do the same.
And if anyone needs any help in regards to downloading any, they're professionals in that. I don't know. I'm gonna bring some pictures somehow. I don't know where I'm gonna get it, but I'm gonna get them.
Thank you, Mr. Camacho. And that concludes my report. Thank you, everyone. Let's keep it going. Arts, culture, technology. Dustin, your report.
I get to do it from the front today. Hey, everybody, I'm Dustin. I am the chairperson of the Arts and Culture Committee. As you know, I have addressed it every month for the last 3-4 months. We are doing a cultural archive project. We had a big meeting about it last week. Please submit. We just talked the other night. All the meeting minutes are in the reports. Please read those if you're interested. We talked to our fellow the other day. We had a big discussion about it. Outreach is hard, right? These people said they were talking, oh, we're going to build a 20-story building, and only 3-4 people know about it. All you people know about this cultural archive now, right? I'm asking you, the flyers are in the back, or you can email bushwickroots@gmail.com. You all have smartphones right now. A lot of you old timers have old pictures on your smartphones. Send one in right now, because otherwise this fellow is going to present a thing and say, everybody in Bushwick says they want everybody to know, oh, Bushwick was this, Bushwick was that, but they didn't send a picture. They didn't send a story. They didn't send anything. Well, they'll have archival materials from the library, from the museums, all this stuff from other people's archives. And you'll look at it and you'll say, that's not my Bushwick. I don't know that Bushwick. That's not where I grew up. You could change that. You can submit a picture right now, tomorrow, next week. If you do it later than that, it will not be part of this first presentation. The beautiful thing about what she's doing, about what we're doing, is going to build something that we can build off of, right? So this first iteration, maybe it'll just be archival material, right? Maybe it won't be stuff that you submitted, but you'll take a look at it and you'll say, that's not what I remember, right? And then you'll want to submit. If you want this to be presented to the Fund for the City of New York and for us to get somebody who can come in here and keep working on this, please submit right now. We got flyers in the back, Spanish and English now. Like I said, bushwickroots@gmail.com. Email them anything. They will send you back a link to do it. I know everybody, I don't have a scanner. I don't have all my pictures. Send one picture. Send it from your phone. Take a picture of it. Whatever you want to do. Please get that material in. We want to see it. Send 100 pictures. Please. When she says 5 submissions, that's from one person. One person has submitted so far. I'm asking all of you, there's 30, 50 people in here. Submit a picture, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Dustin. All right, everyone, you have your homework for today's meeting. We will move on now to economic development and housing and land use.
I will keep this short and also pass it off to Desmond in a second. I think the first hour and 3/4 was most of my report, basically. So we're not going to rehash that. But what I would like to say is quorum. Yeah, we had quorum. We had two presentations. The first one was from the Economic Development Corporation of New York City. It's about some public space very nearby to Broadway Junction. It's all public spaces. So it has to do with the MTA accessibility project at the train station. They are going to be coming back to us in June to talk about their local hiring and jobs creation. So it was super preliminary. It was, there was nothing to vote on. The second thing was this BSA variance letter request that we got. I think we've discussed that in very great detail, thank goodness. And as I did mention before, but the committee recommendation, which we voted to support, is to give them their letter, support for the BSA variance with the 4 important provisos, stipulations rather, must conduct robust and long-term community outreach among block residents in the nearby community. They must study the potential inclusion of parking, and they must, at a minimum, include and maintain the levels of affordability that they presented on that day, and then of course come before the full board. We supported that, and that is my committee report.
Thank you, Ann. All right, next, environmental protection, transportation, sanitation plus parks and rec. That's Barbara Jackson. Yeah, it's okay, Barbara. Yeah, do you want Mr. Camacho to go over it? Okay.
I'm gonna do a briefing. The briefing is that some of the parks permits putting in a play permits. The same people applied for the same thing. I'm gonna give you a cut down on the 3 leads that were there. Was Quebradilla, soccer, Super Kids Soccer, and Guadalupe, and also Bushwick Sports had their I know they didn't have, they were trying to get on a website, they couldn't get there, so I'm not too sure if Kim got a hold of them to see if they can apply, but the open space that they would get would be the ones that the other people didn't have. So to give you guys a rough, this is it right here, okay. All right, now Bushwick Park on Knickerbocker and Madison been having a lot of issues with drinking, people cooking food and stuff in there. So 2 leads put for the same part. So PD was wondering if we can, we need to sit with them because the adjacent building next to there, they've been breaking the gate and going into their yard because it's attached. The gate is attached to them. So I know Parks Department was trying to fix it, or they put a piece of wood on there and it didn't work out. And the guy behind the fence, and PD came in, and the owner was going to get arrested because the guy said that he had assaulted him. It was a big issue with that. He came to the meeting and spoke about his concern about them drinking, urinating in front of his building and place. So we said that we're not gonna give any permit to these 2 leads until we sit to PD, we sit with the adjacent homeowner, and we'll find out with them what days they want and how is it that we can monitor them and make sure that, you know, we don't hurt the kids in any way, and make sure that they're responsible for the permits and make sure that they're responsible what's going on. So I know I spoke with Lopez. He's gonna sit down with me, Celeste, and we're gonna get the 2 teams, 2 leads together and find out what's going on in regards to that. I know Quebradilla has Hope Park Saturday and Sunday from 8 to 6, Monday through Friday from 6 to 8. Quebradilla also have Green Central Mall, They have Saturday, and the reason why, these parks are 12 and under. And the reason why he has a girls' lead, and when there's a girls' lead, they can use these parks. A lot of people say, oh, they're adults, but they're girls and they play baseball. It's not the same as guys using it. So Green Central Knoll is Saturday and Sunday from 8 to 6, Thursday and Friday from 6 to 8. Then Bushwick Sports and Recreation will have no Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from 6 to 8. Thomas Bowling, he'll have Saturday, Sunday from 8 to 8, Monday, Friday from 6 to 8. The league will submit the application. I don't know if it did. Hexter Park is Super Kids. Hexter Park is on No Street. He's going to use it Friday from 6 to 8, Saturday from 6 to 8, and to August 24th. I don't know what that means, but I guess they put in the permit for more. And the other two, one was Real Guadalupe and Super Kids. They haven't got anything in Bushwick Park because of what I told you, but they did put in the same time, the same place, one day less than the other, but there's no monitoring mechanism to make sure that we can hold the lead responsibly because the guy says, oh, it wasn't me. I wasn't there at this time, so we want to make sure that we sit them down before we issue them any permit. So I know they put down Bushwick Park, Super Kids put down Bushwick Park from 8 to 8, which I don't think he's gonna get that. Also from 8 to 8:30 on Sundays. So I don't know what he meant with that. Monday through Friday from 6 to 8, requesting 6 p.m., 8:30 on the same day. Real Guadalupe requested, as you see, Sunday from 9 to 5, and he put it for 8 to 8 at the same day. Monday through Friday, Monday 5 to 8, also requesting 5 to 8:30, and from 5 to 9 p.m. on the same Mondays. Tuesday, 5 a.m., also requesting 5. This is what you tell a wish tree. So we will be giving you the hours according to, as you know, there's been issues there before when the park is adjacent to that park. An incident occurred last year or the year before. There was an actual shooting when someone chased someone in the park and the kids were playing soccer and someone was shot in the field. So we want to make sure that that's not happening and the drinking and the illegal food selling there. And that is it. The board did support the committee did support in favor of the recommendations that I gave in regards to those leads. So we can do a blanket vote later on for all those leads according to. I will make the schedule and we will sign off on it. That's it.
There were two other items on the agenda that evening. The park manager also provided information. This report is not complete. It will be amended because it doesn't include the item title. But there's essentially a volunteer initiative from the Parks Department, and he encouraged everyone to get more involved. And then I believe Trees New York was also present in this meeting, although, yes, Christina McLaughlin from Trees New York. And she provided information on their organization. They do beautification projects. They were also the organization that took the lead on the tree pruning class. So for folks that were interested in that, even those that attended, Trees New York is the organization that you'd like to get to know. And then, as Mr. Camacho mentioned, just one point of clarification, the committee supported a blanket vote for the leagues that were already in compliance. The ones that they have to still meet with will be tabled until a future meeting. And that is the end of this report. Next, we have permits and licenses. Melissa? All right, Melissa may have had to excuse herself from this meeting. I will summarize this report to the best of my ability. There was a quorum, and let's see, for the New York State Liquor License Application Review, there was 165 Wilson Avenue, a new application, also known as the Wheelhouse Bushwick, on the corner of Hart and Wilson Avenue. It's a restaurant. And let's see, it's undergoing a change of ownership. And right now, it's a small coffee shop, offers a short menu with beer, wine, cider options, has been in business for many years. They're still seeking the same wine before doing so, if they decide to apply in the future. We know that there's a new dining out NYC program. The applicant informed the committee he also included scheduled performances on his application to have the option in the future. However, at this time, he does not have events lined up. Was reminded the applicant to be mindful of noise disturbances as well as end times for the performances. They will They do have an outdoor space. It would be Monday through Thursday, 11 to 10, Friday from 11 to 10, and Sunday, 8 to 10. And the next business is 300 W Bar Corp. At 300 Wyckoff Avenue, new liquor, wine, beer, and cider license located between Palmetto and Putnam. It's a bar tavern. The attorney made an attempt to present, however, they were reminded by the chairperson of the committee's rules, which asked that the applicant speak first and introduce themselves. And let's see, the attorney informed the committee that the applicant was not able to sign in via Zoom and requested that a presentation be pushed to the April 2024 committee meeting, and then we will follow up with them. Next is Kavan Hospitality, also known as Juke Bar NYC, 400 Troutman Street. This is a new liquor, wine, beer, cider license located between Wyckoff and Irving. It's a bar tavern known as Tipsy Dog, which is closed permanently. The applicant is taking over the space, intending to create a they have experience coming from Manhattan. Many of the staff reside in Bushwick. They're looking forward to setting up a neighborhood bar. All staff are trained in preventing alcohol overconsumption. They intend to keep the outdoor seating located within the property line as is. There may be changes to the outdoor shed space as he may remove it. Both the committee and board chairperson informed the applicant the area in which the establishment is located is heavily saturated with nightlife. The previous owner's business at the same location did not positively contribute to the quality of life for residents. There was a resident and member of the 385 Troutman Street Tenants Association that informed the committee the tenants have been directly affected by noise, trash, and rats from previous owners of this bar. Eugene, owner of Juke Bar, explained the years of experience being in the industry. He's maintained good relations with neighbors and fellow businesses. He fully intends to do the same with this new location and offer to share contact information with the resident, Ms. Lepp, to further discuss and with the tenant association. And same applies with all applicants. They were provided information for the Bushwick Jobs Board as well as invited to this meeting. Their hours, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 2 a.m., Saturday from 12 p.m. to 2 a.m., and Sunday from 12 p.m. to 2 a.m. The outdoor space will be operating Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 10 p.m., and Saturday through Sunday from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. The PLC chairperson informed the applicant that their intended hours do not fall within the committee's stipulated hours. The applicant requested the committee reconsider. The PLC chair explained the stipulated hours are uniformly recommended to all applicants, and all amendments to the documentation must be submitted before Wednesday. I didn't see the note. They did not submit. And then there was one class change application, Selva LLC, 1329 Willoughby Avenue, Suite 121, new liquor, wine, beer, cider, located between Wyckoff and St. Nicholas Ave, bar tavern. They're looking to change their liquor license from wine, beer, cider to full liquor license. And the establishment is a bar tavern as well as a gallery space where events are hosted. There's no outdoor space. And current sale of alcohol hours Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. and Sunday from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. And let's see, the chairperson reminded the committee that they're only able to make recommendations based on the application type that's being filed and therefore not able to recommend changes to hours of alcohol sales. The committee will be able to do so when the applicant is up for their renewal application. And for cannabis retail license review, there's only one for this meeting. One meeting, please. We're getting there, folks. Baked Daily is 378 Troutman Street. It's a new micro business located between Irving and Wyckoff Avenue. The applicant is a Queens native that now owns a building in Bushwick where he lives and operates an art gallery. They've hosted educational events for card license holders, as well as Office of Cannabis Management's Cannabis Growers Showcase, and provides a networking space for businesses. They came before the committee in 2023 regarding a new establishment. However, OCM did not approve their license. as it was in proximity to another cardholder dispensary. They've returned as they're applying for a micro business license. The applicant is working with social equity partners who are trained and work closely with OCM, and they have applied for the location at 378 Troutman to expand their micro business. They will be running the business as ethically as possible and plan to partner with and give back to the community. And they were invited to tonight's meeting. Their intended hours of operation, Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Sundays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Events and/or programming will be hosted within the same hours of operation above. And recommendations will be discussed during that portion of the meeting. All right, are there any questions, permits, and licenses? All right, moving on to Shape Up Bushwick. James?
All right, good evening, everyone. We last met on, oh yeah, thank you. I lost it on my phone. Okay, so we last met on Thursday, February 29th. And so on Thursday, June 6th, is Shape Up Bushwick, 10 to 2, setup time 9 to 10. Breakdown time 2 to 3, and that's at Irving Square Park. The colors are navy blue or yellow. The theme is living your best life, and we are excited about the honorees. Of course, we didn't have this event last year, but we will be re-honoring the same ones that we were scheduled to honor last year. And so we are excited about that. We're also excited about the sponsors and things that we will have at Shape Up Bushwick. And so we want to encourage you to just to put out the word, to make sure you're in attendance, and to invite everybody you can, so that this will be the biggest and best one that we've ever had. If we can do that, that'll be great. And so I'm excited about the Shape Up Bushwick in June. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Short and sweet. All right, we'll move on to recommendations. And I believe we have just 2 committees this evening. So we'll start with which 3? Parks was missing. Thank you, folks. All right. So we'll start with permits and licenses, and then we'll move on to parks. Just make a note. All right. The recommendations for permits and licenses, is there a motion from the board to blanket vote the SLA? You could blanket vote all of them, all of the recommendations from the committee, but if you want to separate them based on the SLA, State Liquor Authority, what do you all together, everything, or? But yeah, you made Joanna Ben has made a motion to blanket vote for what? Everything together? SLA and OCM together. Is there a second? By Felix Ceballos. All in favor? We're in the middle of a motion, Mr. Camacho. No, they didn't come. So they don't have a recommendation for them. So all in favor? Any opposed, any abstentions? So moved. This is a blanket vote, folks. This is just for a blanket vote. This is not for the actual recommendation. So the motion just carried. Yeah, so once a motion is made, the motion has to be moved forward. Questions about any recommendations have to be asked before a motion is made. It has to happen before the motion is made. That's parliamentary procedure. Yes, the motion was seconded. No, so parliamentary procedure, folks, once a motion is made, if it is seconded, then there has to be a vote. If it is not seconded, it fails. Any discussion about motions has to happen prior to they are made. If someone has a question now, please grab the microphone. Mr. Camacho can help.
Zachary Hendrickson, board member. Yeah, I guess I said this last meeting, but I'll just say it again because I know we have some other things coming up. Sorry, this is a question, but it would be great if, as board members, if we could give like just a few more seconds before we like immediately jump to motion, if like that's how parliamentary procedure works, because immediately things are motioned and then seconded, and it's it's so hard to ask questions. But the question that I had, sorry, was a blanket vote. As with the SLA blanket vote, there's that one that was requesting different hours. That was the question that I had, was if we're blanket voting, are we voting on the hours that they submitted, which were not allowed?
No.
Okay, cool. That was my question.
The committee recommends all stipulated hours uniformly as highlighted by the PLC chair.
Cool, thank you.
You're welcome. And this was just for the blanket vote, so we still have to make a motion on the actual recommendations. Is there a motion for all of the recommendations, or I'll pause. Are there any questions about any of the recommendations prior to a motion being made? Going once, going twice. A motion for the recommendations from the committee. Board members. Committee. Dustin makes a motion in favor of the committee's recommendations. Is there a second? Christian Celeste Tate seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, abstained? One moment, let me just make a list.
There's three. Ms. David, Jolene
Yeah,
Bennett, and
so
Raul.
I'm writing them down. I have Jolena Bennett, Raul Rubio, and Elvina Davis. Anyone else abstained? I see no one on Zoom. Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to the Parks Committee now. We have one recommendation for the leagues, only the leagues that were in compliance. Are there any questions regarding the committee's recommendation? Going once, going twice. Is there a motion for the committee's recommendation? There's only one. We don't have to blanket it, but if you want to change your recommendation to something else. Vote how? You have to be in favor, against. Okay, thank you. No, it's okay. We're all learning here. So Caitlin Penner makes a motion in favor of the committee's recommendation. Raul Rubio, you still second? He confirmed. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. Motion carries. All right. HLU, Housing and Land Use. Anyone have any questions, comments, anything else before there is a motion on the committee's recommendation?
Yes, I have one real quick, and all I want to do is to make sure, I know I spoke to some of the tenants and some of the people there. They were saying that they want to see if there's going to be open space, that they feel that if there's open space, that might not be able to use the open space that's there. So hopefully we can make a recommendation that they allow the people on the block to use that open space that's going to be available if they could in that building, because they were saying that, there's going to be amenities for them. Why not the other works in regards to that? Also, they want them to homeowners to make sure that they go back to the homeowners and find out who's going to be in charge and responsible. So if something does occur, to make sure that they know who to see and not second guess them and they disappear. Answer also in regards to parking and also deeding things out to make sure that if we do vote for this, that it's deed in the deed, to make sure that they don't do like they do last time and put a monkey into the program. So that was what they had. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Camacho. I actually have a question for the Economic Development Committee Chair Desmond. As a developer, isn't it true that there are some projects that have a community liaison that assists with outreach, et cetera, that may be able to assist in this regard?
Yes, it's usually built into their budget, and I don't know why they didn't have that person here, because that probably would have been the person that made the difference in their presentation. So
It seems as though they're early in the project. They don't have a budget shored up. They said that several times, but I would suggest when the committee has already stipulated outreach and engagement, perhaps being specific in that regard. And then also I would even suggest going further. This is just for folks on Zoom. This isn't folks in person, but suggest going further and specifying the type of outreach, examples of outreach that the community would like to see. So that way they're not confused and keep asking us, what do you mean by that?
Absolutely. And that one thing I would like to propose is that we amend your recommendation, Mr. Camacho, about if there is open space, that it is entirely open, much more broadly, not just people on the block, but anybody should be widely open. And I think adding a formal role of a community liaison, one of whose very most important jobs is direct, immediate block outreach, would be important.
I just want to add to what we're discussing right now, the Camacho just mentioned about the responsibility of reaching to the community. Obviously, they have not done that, right? But we're in the deadline to make a decision. Now, I understand that completely as well, because we need that for me to help you so that your dream come true. Now, it's cool, and I believe it, and I'm seeing a vision, but they didn't do what they promised from the beginning. So what makes me believe that that's going to happen? And I know that it depends on our vote to be able to obtain it. Okay, and I might go for it. I might be all down for it. But now they also mention about jobs and opportunities. So how am I going to believe you if you didn't approach us about what you're telling me that eventually you're going to have jobs available for us that live in the community? But you didn't even tell us before. So I want to make sure that when we're voting and when we put in it, it has to be specific. It has to be clear that when they get our vote and they go ahead with it, that they will approach us later on for the jobs opportunities as well. And hopefully it'll not be 10%.
We'll make sure that the jobs, because I have been with the RAD conversion and making sure that the people that are there, people are from the community can get jobs. So
Yeah, Zachary Hendrickson, board member. My recommendation, or something I think we should include in the letter if we're going to write this or if we're going to vote in favor of it, is related to this question of open space. With privately owned public space, one of the biggest problems in New York City is actually their hours of access. So it's not enough just to say that it should be accessible to people from the community, but we need to think about the hours of access as well as like seating accommodations and things like that, because people just make these things so austere and so inhospitable that you know, it doesn't even matter whether you like want to be there, because like, what are you going to do there? So, you know, I think that's an important piece, that the hours of operation, what type of amenities we would like to see there would be important.
Probably going to go against that. I think that they made it correct that there's enough open space around the area. I think that in the recommendation, we should call them back to talk about reprogramming, like altogether. So we'll look at open space, but we'll also look at the fact that there could be new market tax credits used to bring in some commercials. I think it's a little bit of a food desert. There may be some other amenities that need to go in that could better serve the community than just grass. So I think in the recommendation, we say, you know, yes, with the, I don't know, the caveat that we want to explore or work in tandem with them to really look at the community programming of those spaces.
we have our council woman Sandy Nurse here.
Good evening, everyone. No need to clap, really. I'm sorry I missed the presentation. I had a family member in town for one night only. I wanted to see them, but Ryan and Fran were here. The only thing I would additionally recommend is that they include you, that you should write specifically in your recommendation to be included for the community facility that they intend to create. They don't have a plan for it yet. They came to our we met with them once on Zoom. They came to our office earlier this week. And I asked them, you know, I think actually Ryan said like exactly what is the vision for how you plan to include the community in that community facility space. They said that, you know, they're not even there yet. So I think you should put it in. We don't get a vote on it if they go through the variance. So we don't have the negotiating power we normally would to determine what that would look like. But I think to just explicitly ask for a formal role in that, so you all can have a heavy hand in deciding that. And the only thing I would say about the open space is that one of our biggest heartburns over here is the parks not being able to be closed at 9 because of capacity of the parks department. So I just want to be careful about, you know, specifying the hours of that so that we don't create more problems for ourselves. But that's it.
Councilwoman Nurse, I'm glad that you're here. During the presentation, two residents stated that that Bushwick wasn't even a part of that. We shouldn't even be voting on that because that site is not even in Bushwick. They seem not to know who their city councilwoman was. And I would like for you to state for the record that indeed this project that we are voting on is within your jurisdiction and that it is within Bushwick. That needs to be made perfectly clear, especially to those residents that question, did we have the right to even vote on this? So if you could state that for the record.
No problem. For the record, this is in the 37th and it's within the Community Board 4's jurisdiction. You all are in the position of power. I am not in this particular land use issue. So you all should go for the full package of what you want and really aim to be playing a strong role in this. And look, I love the Doe Fund. I think they're a great partner. I think they've been a great partner in a number of projects. They do great things to support people who are very in transitionary periods. So I trust them. I don't know the other guy. I don't know him. He's a developer. I don't know, but this is a unique project where you all have the power to really just, weigh in heavily, whereas I don't. Although, it's what they communicated to us is that the, HPD will not, go for the full package unless you all are in support of it. So yeah.
We got one here.
So I guess maybe if we reorder the stipulations and the first and foremost being the, long-term continued community board involvement and specifically with the community liaison and playing an active role in the programming of the community facility space on the, first or ground level, whatever that is, because that does seem to be typically, if we were to go through a ULURP, which is always our preference, we can, if stuff goes sideways, we can ask our council members to put it right back on track again. But because, as the council member right now has said, that is not the process with the BSA variance, we have to figure out how to get in our stipulations the teeth so that we are a part of this process for the next 5 years until those doors open.
All right. If there are no other comments on this from board members, yep, Dustin, I see Dustin. Board members only, folks.
Just for all the board members, I think we should leave this recommendation to Ann, and because she knows her stuff, and try to include all the verbiage of at least, at minimum, that sort of stuff, and really make this thing as tight as we can. Thank you, guys.
All right, Ann.
And I will respectfully request a little editing from Celeste to make sure that it's the right tight language because she knows what she's talking about. So,
So if I may suggest, just based on what I'm hearing for everyone, so there are a few stipulations on the recommendation to approve 20 stories from the committee. One of those was community outreach. What we heard is we want to be more specific in hiring a community liaison. And we may also want to define what we mean by outreach. So does this mean sending a letter? Does this mean going door to door? I know Desmond elaborated that that's within a role of a community liaison, right? Those things. So I think that that's something that we can outline as examples. There's also a suggestion to amend this to include public open space, emphasizing that the open space is public. So, and again, if there are any concerns beyond that, this is just what we heard.
Yeah, and set aside in regards to them when they develop, because it's not consensual with the residential
like the setback.
Correct. Setback to make sure that we can it matches, because there is no setback in there. If they're gonna go straight up, then they're saying that it's not contextual and it's family oriented. So it'll be just a straight giant building instead of maybe like a setback before the trestle somewhere where they can, just a few feet away from it to look contextual. I think there are a lot of people who are concerned with that.
So including setbacks as a technical contextual zoning tool.
Yeah, and to make sure that, yes, it works and does not completely overwhelm the block nearby. I mean, a good architect can figure that out, right? Mr. Ceballos, like, you know how that works. So, and he's an architect, so, yeah. So, I guess in terms of the technical language, if it's, you know, a community liaison, and yeah, we're taking suggestions, Christian. But the community liaison should probably come to CB4 on a quarterly basis and, you know, absolutely keep us in the loop. No surprises, and doing outreach in the immediate neighborhood as well. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we can do every meeting, but it's, yeah.
Just in terms of the public space for Desmond's suggestion, I would agree with that. Suggesting that we stipulate that any public space or any open space be made open to the public, as opposed to stipulating that they include public space. Because I think that's part of their next steps, are to study open space relative to parking, relative to the other community spaces that are on the table.
That was the one part. Thank you, Christian. So it was about programming. Desmond's comment was about expanding beyond just having open space and having the board be involved in programming. The council member also mentioned that as well. So
Yeah.
programming the rest of the space. Okay. Mr. Ceballos?
Felix Ceballos again. I don't know if that applied for the recommendation, but I'm an architect and I know how hard it is when we're talking about parking, and they don't take in that consideration. They plan to not include parking in the project. And I think that is very important for the community, because right now it's very hard, the parking in the community.
Thank you, Mr. Ceballos. That's one of the yeah, that's, yep. There's a stipulation to study the inclusion of parking. All right, Joanna, if you can come up a little bit.
I'm not sure if you guys mentioned it. Hi, I'm Joanna. Are they gonna have like doorman 24-hour security or something? I'm not sure if I heard.
Yeah, yes,
Okay,
24-hour
thank you.
security.
Thank
All right. And do you need me to run back through the feedback just one more time? Okay, so amendments that were just proposed, hiring a community outreach liaison, specifically to report back to CB4 on a quarterly basis, to potentially send letters to neighbors and canvas, have any space be accessible to the public, any open space or programming community space be open to the public, have CB4 be involved in programming the rest of the space, as well as contextual zoning, including setbacks, in addition to the steps that are already there.
The contextual zoning, I don't know if, I mean, that's a like hyper technical thing. So I'm not sure that we should include that specific language, because it does have repercussions and we might just be talking nonsense on that one. But specifically to work to mitigate the effects of the height, you know, using design tools for the immediate neighbors. And then I think that enough people raised questions about finance, and that we should see if we can get some, you know, people from HPD to report regularly to us too, or give us updates on that, about the financing and how that's all going.
All right, there's some other language, and you know, we can get into context and, you know, all of the technicalities of this, but another way to frame that that's not contextual would potentially be quality housing, asking for quality housing consideration. All right. Okay. All right, those are the amendments, folks. Does anyone else? Last couple of questions.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Just briefly, I know they mentioned doorman, but can we also recommend them to address or have other safety measures in place. I don't know how that would look because I don't know their budgets, but is that already in there? Okay, okay, perfect. Sorry, everyone.
They said that they would, based on some of the responses I'm hearing whispered across the audience. If the board wants to be extra safe and secure, we could add a safety plan to the stipulations. Does that? Okay. Okay. Is the board good to make a motion on these amendments? That,
They haven't gone into the full underwriting yet, so that's gonna be worked out once they start messing around with the pro forma and they go back and forth with HPD. It may be switched a little bit, so I think that's their guesstimate, but like they said, they haven't even gotten that far yet, so.
so I think it's okay to use the numbers that we were given, folks. You know, even if something were to change, we don't want to deviate from what was presented to us because that creates a whole other situation that we don't know about. So again, the amendments that were just discussed, does anyone else have questions about them before a motion is made? Going once, going twice. A motion for these amendments. James Stewart makes the motion. Second by Barbara Jackson. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Thank you, Caitlin. All right. Any abstentions? Any opposed? Otherwise, so moved. So that was just for the amendments. That was just for the amendments, folks. Now there has to be a motion for the actual recommendation, which now includes all those amendments. Is there a motion for the recommendation? Desmond makes a motion, second by Felix Ceballos. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you, Caitlin. If there's no one else, so moved. Thank you, everyone. And that concludes recommendations this evening. All right, we're almost there. Woo! Old business, going once, going twice. Seeing none. New business, going once, going twice. Hearing none. Announcements, a minute and a half.
I got a minute. Thank you, people that applied for the housing at 55 Goodwin Place. The thing closed on the 18th. The other one, 143 Winmont, closed on the 25th. So whoever wants to get an application for seniors, please put it in. The other one, 22 Moffitt is going to stop at the 28th. So whoever's going to pick up an application at 22 Moffitt, please, you got to be on the 26th. So please get your applications in. They're already starting 20 people. So if people, you'll be on the list. So if people don't qualify, the next person goes on and goes on. Thank you.
Falling asleep, sorry. Okay, real quick. Fridays, we do tax prep at the office. All you have to do is call this number. East New York, join the Broadway Junction rally on the 22nd at 10 a.m. Flyers in the front. We are doing an estate planning for home ownership. It will be virtual Monday, 25th from 6 to 8 p.m. If you own a home, you can join us. And last but not least, our Bushwick Town Hall is on the 28th at PS 75 in person. Thank you. Hey everybody, Lacey, Brooklyn Borough President's Office. Really quick, we have a community resource information series event coming up. It's not in Bushwick, it's really close though. It's in Brownsville. It's with Riseboro and the Department of Social Services. It's all about applying for HRA benefits. So if you or anyone you know needs SNAP or cash assistance or emergency rental or fair fares, you can come on Wednesday, April 3rd for, between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. to the Brownsville Partnership at 519 Rockaway Avenue. That's it. We're gonna get you some new community board members really soon also.
Thanks, Lacey.
Okay, I'll try this one more time. So I'm Amy with BHIP, and we're having a community meeting next Wednesday, March 27th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at El Puente, which is pretty much a couple blocks from here at 311 Central Ave. The focus is going to be to have a teach-in and a practice session about what DHCR or HCR is and how to use it to win change and build power with your neighbors. Again, it's next Wednesday, March 27th at 311 Central Ave. My phone number is 929-324-7358, and email is bhiporganize@gmail.com. Thank you.
What time?
Oh, 6:30.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joe. I'm from Friends of Irving Square Park. I just want to remind everyone next Wednesday, the 27th, the Parks Department is hosting a community input meeting for a potential dog run at Irving Square Park. Whether you are for or against it, please show up and voice your opinion. And we want to hear what your concerns are. You know, some of our concerns from the volunteer group of the park is safety of children, the betterment of the park's lawns and environment and everything like that. And we also are having another monthly cleanup looking like April 20th. That's a Saturday for Earth Day, and we'll have some planting and weeding and plant giveaways for children. So we hope we'll see you at both events. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Juanita James. I'm the newly appointed. Can you hear me now? Okay, I'm the newly appointed branch manager of Washington Irving. I took over for Mr. Wayway. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Wayway. So he's greatly missed. I took over, so hopefully we can continue. So the three major ones that I wanted to talk about is the Invest in Library campaign. We're still in funding, even though the city cut us, we still need our money to operate. So we're looking for everybody to help invest. So investinlibraries.org, you can go there. Also, if you need tax help at Brooklyn Public Library, it's bklynlibrary.org/tax help. And we have a teen writing contest. It's submissions all through March. It's brooklynlibrary.org/teen writing contest. And we have flyers for Washington Irving. Thank you and good night.
Hey everyone, I'm here to announce the second season of Troutman Open Streets. There's our Earth Day event, April 20th, sponsored by the DOT. We did the same thing last year. There'll be a Halloween parade again this year, among other events on the open street, car-free open street, hosting nonprofits and local groups and community organizations, DJs, performers, etc. So thanks to the community board for your support.
Good evening, Annette Spelling, Community Board 4. I just want to say thank you to the Community Board for their support during Black History Month and for coming out. And a special thanks to Congresswoman Nydia Velázquez for nominating me. She has taken care of this community, and anytime she needs support, we need to be behind her.
Hello again. I just want to tell you all, I'm not going to say the whole spiel again. I'm gonna be sitting over there until they kick us out tonight. If you have any pictures on your phone, if you need help navigating the submissions, come on over to me. I'll help you do it right now. All right. Thank you.
Hey everyone, Zach Hendrickson, board member here. Quickly, I just want to invite everyone on March 30th. So that's coming up next Saturday at 2 p.m. at the Williamsburg Library. The North Brooklyn branch of New York City DSA is going to be having our general meeting, which I would not normally bring up here, but yours truly is going to be doing a presentation on what's going on with the city budget and ways that people can get involved to fight for city services all across the city. And so if you're interested in learning more about what's going on with the city budget, I would invite you all to join us 2 p.m. at the Williamsburg Library and hear what we're up to.
Hi everyone, Maria Valdez from the Office of Senator Julia Salazar. We are having next events April 3rd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at 212 Evergreen Avenue. For anyone that's interested in applying for affordable housing with Housing Connect is welcome to come. Please call our office at 718-573-1726 to make an appointment. Also, we are having an event on April 18th at 218 Wyckoff from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's going to be about licensing and regulations workshop, how to acquire a license on motorcycles, a vehicle. Also, what happens if your motorcycle gets confiscated. We will be also providing a free DMV guide for the exams. Thank you.
I just want to let the board members know that election for officers will be in April and not in May. And also the second Wednesday, the full board meeting is on a Tuesday, not the third Wednesday. The second Tuesday.
Second Wednesday.
The second Wednesday, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about the precinct. So remember, I know senators will send it out to make sure don't come here the third Wednesday. We won't be here. You'll be by yourself.
That's for June. So the meeting won't be on Juneteenth. It'll be on June 12th, the second Wednesday. So earlier summer recess. Yep, we have 3 folks on Zoom. Juan, then Lucy, and then Venus. Go ahead, Juan.
Hey everyone, quick updates from our end. Just a friendly reminder that the 60-month CF Senior Citizen Building applications are open. The last day is to apply April 15. Anyone can stop by our office on Thursdays from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. to fill out the applications. We are still filling out taxes for anyone who was unemployed and received Social Security, SSI, or welfare. You could contact our office and make an appointment. I'm happy to announce that participatory budget vote week is almost here. Bushwick has 6 projects on the ballot this year, and there's a total of 11 projects. And then wanting to invite everybody, we're having a town hall on the topic about nightlife in Bushwick at 599 Johnson Avenue. Thank you.
Lucy, go ahead.
Hi there. Sorry, I missed roll call earlier. Lucy Jackson, she, her. I'm here on behalf of the Bushwick Star. We have our spring Big Green Theater program coming up at PS 75. We have performances next Wednesday, March 27th at 9:30 a.m. and 5 p.m. at PS 75, which is 95 Grove Street, Brooklyn. If anyone wants to get in touch with me, I'm Lucy at thebushwickstar.org. Thanks so much. Good night.
Venus.
Good evening, everyone. This is Venus Ganterbury here from the Civilian Complaint Review Board. I hope all is well. I'm sorry that I can't make it tonight. Just have a couple of announcements. Just really briefly, we are a city agency that independently investigates, mediates, and prosecutes allegations of police misconduct. Our jurisdiction is force, abuse of authority, discourtesy, offensive language. Just one quick announcement. Today, our agency, with representation from the chair, Arbor Rice, and our executive director, John Darsh, testified to City Council today for budgetary needs. We received a 15% PEG for the fiscal 2024 year, and we are looking to increase our funding so that way we can robustly investigate cases. We have a very short staff of investigators, so we did have to relinquish some of our jurisdiction powers back to the police department. So certain allegations that are standalone, such as refuse to provide name and shield number or not being distributed right to know ad cards, will have to be given back to the NYPD. We hope that once the budget is restored, those allegations will be given back to us. And lastly, I'm Brooklyn Outreach. So any events, opportunities, I was there at the Immigration Resource Fair last month. I enjoyed myself and I enjoyed being around the community. So if there's any other events that CB4 is hosting or in partnership with, I would love to be a part of. Lastly, have a great night and have a wonderful spring.
Thank you, Venus. Our council member.
Okay, sorry to extend the meeting. Oh my gosh. Okay, 2 things, but this is really critical. If you applied to be on this community board, you got to answer your phone and email if they're trying to call you to interview you. Okay, because right now the applicant pool that's responding to is not reflective of this community, which means my options to appoint here, Jen's options to appoint here, and Antonio's options to appoint here are not reflective of the long-term residents. So if you applied, please check your emails. Please check your voicemails and call back. So I have options, okay? And lastly, we're wrapping up the preliminary budget hearings at City Council. I want to just lift up that a number of Bushwick youth were at the Public Education Committee, and they really stayed and they testified. I think Make the Road brought a ton of local youth, but guess what I didn't see? I didn't see any Bushwick adults, only the kids. So we're really gonna need you all in May to come out, testify online, put a letter of support. They're really doing a number to our 3K, our pre-K, public education. We're losing the social workers, the restorative justice workers in our school. Like, we need your voices. So please write a letter. You know, you can listen in all day, and then when they call you on the Zoom, you just testify for 2 minutes and just pop off the same way you guys go off here. I need you to go off in City Hall. There was a bunch of our young people from Bushwick out there fighting for their own public education, and we really need you all there as well. So just wanted to lift that up, that we're wrapping out the preliminary budget for what is this month? This is March. In May is the next opportunity. It's the final opportunity to raise your voice on this issue.
I always go there, but they throw me out. I don't know why.
All right, thank you, everyone. And I just have one thing to share before we wrap up this evening. 7 years ago on this day, I started working for Community Board 4. She made it. And there's nowhere else I'd rather be at 9 p.m. on a Wednesday night. Like home. Thank you all. All right. Second roll call, board members, please be ready. Tashana Wade. Jerry Valentin.
Present and good night.
Ben Tucker. Jessica Tiburcio. James Stewart. Annette Spellin. Dustin Somborn. Maria Soler. I got you, Annette. Barbara Smith. Bernadine Michelle. Milagros Sandoval. Elisa Ruiz. Raul Rubio. Caitlin Penner.
Present,
Zuma
Soler.
Noguera. Desmond Monroe.
Recycle your drunk with you.
Rami Mama.
present. Zuma
Got you, Zuma, thank you. Christine Malden. Edward Kopp. Nicholas Kaplan. Luisa Jose. Tara Jones Thomas. Taisha Johnson. Barbara Jackson. Tanisha Honeygan.
Present.
Got you. Zachary Hendrickson. Ann Guiney. Christopher Graham. Joanna Fuentes. Freddie Fowler. Cecilia Fabian. Alvina Davis. Andrew Troy. Christian C. Tate. Felix Ceballos. Melissa Clara Solano. Robert Camacho. Raul Brown. Makiba Brown-Elaine. Joanna Bennett. Stephanie Anderson. Motion to adjourn? Someone? Raul Rubio makes a motion. Is there a second? Freddie Fowler?
second.
All in
Novoa
favor?
second.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. 9:12. Good night, everyone. Get home safe.
Good night.